Call this meeting to order at 7:03 p.m. This is a regular session meeting of the governing body of the Borough of Bloomingdale, Tuesday, November 27th, 2012. I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening. I'd ask if we'd all may rise to salute our nation's flag and please remain standing for a brief moment of silence to honor all those lives lost in Hurricane. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Here's Emily.
Here.
Thompson. Otto.
Here.
Here. Jordan. Here. Johnson.
Also with us this evening is our municipal clerk, Jane McCarthy, and our borough attorney, Fred Sember. This is an official meeting of the governing body of the Borough of Bloomingdale on January 4th, 2012. Public notification of the date, time, and location of this meeting was posted in the municipal building and advertised in all local news media. First aid fire code. I'm required to acknowledge there are two emergency exits in these chambers, the doors which you walk through. The exit to my left, if an emergency was to arise, walk orderly through either exit, down the stairs and out of the building. Per fire code, if anyone has questions on that issue, please raise your hand at this time. There's no need at this time for an early executive session. Is there a motion to remove any matter from the agenda?
Yes, Mayor. Section 15, introduction of new business. I'd like to move item F. I see no reason to put this on our agenda tonight to remove or rescind the ordinance that was put in place months ago. A lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of money was spent on this ordinance. It passed overwhelmingly by this board, by the planning board. All the research was done. There's no reason to go backwards again. So I would like that item removed from the agenda tonight and go to the ask if we don't do that.
So that is your motion to remove item F from the agenda. Is there a second on that motion?
There's a second, but Mayor, there are bylaws. There is no motion and second. Any member of the council can remove an item from the agenda. There is no motion and voting. That's our bylaws.
While the attorney is looking that up, I would just like to acknowledge, well, we'll be acknowledging many people this evening, but just for this moment, I'd like to acknowledge we have our Deputy Director Freeholder with us, Mr. Bruce James. Thank you for being here this evening, sir. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Councilman, what that refers to is removing something from the blanket consent agenda. If you want to move it to a new business item, to have discussion on it rather than blanket motion under consent. So, is that the section you must have referred to? It says unilaterally can remove.
There's no other section that's all.
Section 6.6 discusses, as the mayor said. You can remove something from the consent agenda and vote on it separately or have a discussion.
Do you have copies of the bylaws? I can go through it.
The back of it. How about 6.2 here?
Correct. You refer to as a motion.
Yeah, it would just be a motion. That's what it is, but the motion would have to carry. So Still move the motion.
Section, Councilman Yazdi, it's a motion to remove, so it requires a motion.
All right, I second.
So the motion is seconded. Is there any discussion other than what Councilman Demotta already spoke to us of his reasons why? Hearing none, can I have a roll call on that matter, please?
Can I ask a
Yeah.
question?
Sure.
Maybe we can get an explanation of why it's even being rescinded?
Again, if you want to make that part of the discussion on the motion.
I'd like to know. I understand that you brought this.
The item is placed by Councilwoman Bertucci on the agenda. Councilman D'Amato is asking if he can have an explanation as to why.
Because I want to do it.
Just because you want to do it, there's no explanation of the benefit that we're going to get from this?
Because I don't feel like it's a blighted area. And I have to do what I feel is right. And this is what I would like on the
I don't know, I just don't find that,
This is not a blighted area.
well, in my opinion, Fred, you can chime in here if you like, every precaution was taken by professionals, not only by the planning board, by the planner, have put this into redevelopment zones. These are professionals that say we can do this. Did you do any research?
Yes, I did.
Can I see it?
You can look it up. And you pass it out. I'm not going to pass it out now, but there is. On the Supreme Court hearing on Gatlin's opinion on the blighted area, and there's a, so that's why I'm keeping it on. Blighted means blight. Redevelopment posted by Gatlin Realty Development versus the Borough of Colesville.
Okay.
Okay?
If I'm not mistaken,
We move on and let's, report.
Well, there will be more discussion, I'm sure, on the topic. Sir, can I have a roll call on that motion, please?
Councilmembers Conklin,
What would that be?
yes.
That's correct.
D'Amato,
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Bertucci,
No.
Shortman,
No.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Okay, moving along. Before we go to early public comment or any reports, we're going to item 12, our presentations for this evening. I'd ask at this time if the council would like to join me to load the dates. Again, welcome everyone, and thank you for being here this evening. Our first presentation is certainly an incredibly deserving honor for this gentleman. I'm going to begin by just calling Mr. Alan Gunderson up, please, at this time. How are you, sir? Good. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Alan Gunderson, who has served our borough for 21 years on our planning board. And he has retired at the end of this month from that job after 21 years of incredible service to our borough. This man is the book of knowledge when it comes to the rules and the planning and the zoning and pretty much everything you need to know on that end in the borough. He's certainly going to be incredibly missed. His wealth of knowledge is going to be incredibly missed. Although he's not going too far, we're going to be calling and picking what's left. Still a few things left. But if you recall, a few meetings ago, Mr. Gunderson was here with our construction code official, finally presenting the complete version of our zoning to be finally codified and put into our code rather than to many years of not so well prepared. Loose papers and folders, and there was a large effort with the committee, but primarily Mr. Gunderson's efforts to bring us to this point. And his 21 years of service is unsurpassed. So tonight, we're here to honor you and thank you for those years. And again, you will be missed, and I sincerely thank you. There are members of the planning board here tonight. I'll offer, if you choose to say a few words after I present. But if I may, Mr. Gunderson, presented to Alan Gunderson in sincere appreciation and grateful recognition of your 21 years of dedicated service to the cause of sound land use planning and zoning as a commissioner and chairman of the planning board of the Borough of Bloomingdale. Presented this 27th day of November 2012 by the governing body, I'd just like to read a quote we've inscribed on the plaque, a quote by Benjamin Franklin. "I have always thought that one man of tolerable abilities may work great changes and accomplish great affairs among mankind, if he first forms a good plan, and cutting off all amusements and other employments that would divert his attention, make the execution of the same plan his sole study and business." That is certainly what you have done.
Seems like yesterday when I started. I certainly have enjoyed being here all these years, not only on planning board, but on other commissions that I served on as well over those many years. The planning board will go on. Barbara Neinstadt, our secretary, will keep the rest of the members in shape, in order, and organized. She's been a remarkable asset to the board as well. And all the people on this planning board always have tried to keep the best interests of Bloomingdale at heart. And I just hope that they will continue to do that in the future.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a few members of the planning board. They had a special recognition at their last planning board meeting of Alan. Just want to open the floor if anyone want to say a few words.
21 years, Alan. I think I got about half of that 21 years with you, working with you. But as I look around the room, I would like the people who worked with you in those 21 years to all stand. Linda Shortman is already standing. And I see people all throughout this audience that have been on the planning board. Carolyn Bross is behind me. She was on the planning board. Jennifer Walkfield was on the planning board. What's your name? Peter Durham was on the planning board. I think if we all stand up, we'll see how many people in this room worked with Alan, maybe not currently, but it'll be a nice gesture, I think.
Actually, all our planning board members who have served in the past.
Oh,
are
it's
here
Craig.
tonight.
Craig's over there.
We will rise.
No grab.
And one final round of applause. I'm sure Alan would agree. A lot of his dedication would not have been possible without the support of his wife. So, Mrs. Gunderson, thank you for everything. Yeah, I'm going to call you tomorrow on that application. All right, I have your email. Thank you, Alan. We are also here this evening to honor and thank many of our professionals, many of our volunteer organizations who served this borough above and beyond the call of duty in Hurricane Sandy. There's so many individuals. We have chosen to honor each department or each group as a whole. At this point, I'd like to begin by calling up our Chief of Police, Officer Joe Burrell, and any of his officers who are with him today. Chief, how are we going to see you? Thank you for being here. Again, it was a tough time for all of us, the storm. Tough time for most of our nation. And locally here, the support system that this department provided this borough is incredible. As mayor, they went out of their way to have constant communication with me and all our departments, constant communication with the public. If you're not registered on a reverse 911, you need to be. There was constant communication from our police department, to our staff, to our residents, to our entire community. These gentlemen, from doing their normal daily work, went above and beyond in serving our community, from literally knocking on every senior citizen's door in town to make sure everyone was okay. Officers in T-shirts with their own chainsaws clearing roads. The chief was so diligent in setting up warming stations and working with us, setting up our shelters for our residents. And I just didn't want that work to ever go unnoticed. Now, I know the chief, who's a very humble person, will say it's his job, and that is true. But the compassion and caring that you show for the community, your entire department, gentlemen, show for this community is breathtaking and quite heartwarming. So I sincerely thank you. So presented to the Bloomingdale Police Department in grateful appreciation of your service and support to our residents of Borough of Bloomingdale during Hurricane Sandy, October 2012, presented today. Our next presentation, again, goes to the entire staff of our Department of Public Works. They are, actually, these gentlemen didn't want any recognition. Their response to me was, it's our job, don't recognize us. We don't want to be at the meeting, we don't want a certificate, we don't want anything. And I said, too bad. But that was exactly what they said. They wanted no fanfare for what they did for this community. Again, one may say it is their job, and that was true that it is. Their commitment to the community, to our residents, again, is above and beyond call of duty. Our superintendent is home with the flu this evening, so I'd ask Mr. Rocco DiGregorio, our assistant DPW superintendent, and our water department superintendent, to please come up and accept this on behalf of the Department of Public Works. Have you, sir? So again, this department, I'm sure you saw them out there, 10 days straight, 18-hour shifts. Many communities suffered as we did, but I just think our community came together as a whole. All our residents did, our professionals, our staff, etc. But we were kind of back in business pretty quickly. We were, as best can be, almost back to a normal state, and that was a large part to this department. So, Rocco, I present to you the Borough of Bloomingdale Department of Public Works, and grateful appreciation for your service and support to the residents of the Borough of Bloomingdale during Hurricane Sandy. Now, Rocco wears two hats, probably more than two. I'm referring to two this evening. And Rocco is our superintendent to our sewer and water department. And his department consists of himself, Billy and Frankie, two fine employees who, again, were working 18-hour shifts. They were not only doing the job of their water department, they were helping DPW, as they do throughout the year, with normal services. But things that people don't realize, we have pumping stations to keep our infrastructure working, our sewer and water facility working. And it was his department who was constantly on those. They literally had to monitor those 24/7 until we had power back. So again, Rocco, presented to the Bloomingdale Water and Sewer Department in grateful appreciation for your service. Thank you. Our next group is the most incredible group of volunteers from Walls our firemen. Gentlemen, I just ask you to come up and stand. Chief Hudson, how are you? See you. Good. Gentlemen, how are you? Again, these guys, same as those of who you already recognize, but these guys are here 24/7, 365. Whether it's a hurricane or not, these guys are here all the time. And this storm, again, they fulfilled that role. They were so instrumental in helping us with the sheltering provided for our residents, constantly on call, constantly supporting, running generators to here and there wherever we needed them. And as always, this group is forever thank you for all your volunteer, keyword volunteer, service hours you give to this community. So Chief Hudson, it is certainly my honor to present to the Bloomingdale Fire Department in grateful appreciation of your service and support to our residents of the Borough of Bloomingdale during Hurricane Sandy. I don't know if everyone saw in the newspaper was a great article. Besides serving our community, our fire department went down to the seaside area and helped canvass the area, knocking door to door to make sure people were safe. So they extended and reached out beyond Bloomingdale and helped those in the seaside area as well. So Chief, again, thank you so much. Our next group certainly goes hand in hand. Our Women's Auxiliary. If I can have you ladies up here. How are you this evening? Again, as with any of our volunteer groups, really the unsung heroes are the Ladies Auxiliary of our fire department. They do so much behind the scenes that a lot of people just don't know. In this particular storm, they were the backbone of our support system for our residents. They were the ones who prepared food, who manned the warming stations, who prepared food for our firemen, helped serve our DPW workers during the long hours, ran hours upon hours of shelter time, both here in the chambers and at Fireman's Hall. And again, things people don't hear, they don't ask for any fanfare. There's nothing written about them. They just do what they do and do it so well. And you give me a lot of pride. I'm so proud of each and every one of you. So, presented to the Bloomingdale Fire Department Ladies Auxiliary, in grateful appreciation of your service and support to the residents of our borough during Hurricane Sandy. I would next ask our members of our Community Emergency Response Team, our CERT team, to please come up and join me here, please. Oh, wait. How are you? Good. Very well. Wonderful. Again, our CERT team, Community Emergency Response, volunteers. These individuals, again, are a big part of serving the community during any emergency situation. They too were helping in the shelters for residents. We had power outage. I know there was a crew monitoring the lack of traffic control in town for a number of hours. And always here for any emergency that arises in the borough as volunteers and commit their own time, their own personal time, hours upon hours to you, our residents, to serve all of us. So it again is a great pride to present to you the Bloomingdale CERT Community Emergency Response Team in grateful appreciation of your service and support to our residents of the borough of Bloomingdale during Hurricane Sandy, presented from the Mayor and Council. Thank you all. Sure. Our next group is truly an amazing group as well. This group, again, serves us in an incredibly important role. I'd ask that Leslie grab our first aid, How are you tonight? Great. Our Triborough First Aid Squad, again, this is every day. This is not just hurricanes. They are here to serve us, again, as volunteers, our community, as well as our Triborough communities, each and every day in the form of providing us all our first aid and protection. During the hurricane, they were on call. They were there responding to 911 calls in the conditions you've all experienced. They weren't home. They weren't in the comfort of their home. They were in rigs, on the road, dodging trees, getting around the trees to serve the many 911 calls that came in throughout our communities. So Leslie, it is certainly my honor to present to Triborough First Aid Squad in grateful appreciation of your service and support to the residents of the Borough of Bloomingdale during Hurricane Sandy in October 2000. In our final presentation, I'd ask Chief Burrell and Chief Hudson to come up if you could. This presentation is to our Office of Emergency Management. This group, again, of mostly volunteers, helps organize a lot of the groups we talked about this evening. And it's not just this hurricane. They're here every day, every flood, every storm, every emergency. Our OEM is here and just serving our borough in such an impressive capacity. So, both chiefs, it's certainly my honor to present to Bloomingdale, our Office of Emergency Management, in grateful appreciation for your service and support to our residents of the borough during Hurricane Sandy. Presented by the Mayor. Again, I thank everyone for being here, and there's such an incredible group of individuals, both our staff and our volunteers, that really they don't want to be recognized, and it's just it has to be done. You have no idea the value you give to our community and how proud all our elected officials are of each and every one of you. So if we may have one big round of applause for everyone. At our next meeting, there are two other groups we will be honoring. We had Boy Scouts from Troop 86 help filling sandbags prior to the storm. So we'll be recognizing them, and I hope to get some representatives from Butler Electric in, because our Butler Electric certainly serves our community. Wanted you to know that because we didn't forget any group. They will be acknowledged appropriately. But I read an article today that other towns want Butler Electric. We actually want it. We don't want that to happen. But we'll honor those individuals rightly so. Yes, Chief.
Say a quick couple words.
Please, anyone wishes to say anything, please.
I don't have a pen with me, so I'll make this quick. I just want to thank all the department heads, between Joey, Al Gallagher, Rocco, Bernie, Search and Rescue, Auxiliary, everybody who just recognized tonight. Without the efforts of everybody coming together and getting things done, it just shows the tightness of Bloomingdale. Everybody comes together and the town needs them. So taking over as OEM coordinator this year, it was like, okay, there's usually not a lot to do, but having it at the end of the year, of course, right? We got through the floods without a problem, but it wasn't for Joey. Like I said, we worked side by side for 5 or 6 days straight, and it was just, everything ran very well. We bounced a lot of ideas off each other, things we didn't think of. We'd call in other resources. Pete, who used to be OEM coordinator, DPW, like I said. Everybody was on the same page with, 20 different tasks going on. Everybody was just, working together to get the job done. I just want to again thank everybody that was involved. It was a great effort on everybody's part. Thank you.
Well, it's always, when we make recognitions like this, it's always concerning that we're going to miss somebody, and I'm sure it happens. But I just want to extend to our community, our residents. We had the residents really supporting one another, helping care for neighbors. We had residents in Iosco, for example, clearing roads and helping their community and our community. In my lake, Morse Lakes, we had trees down and blocking roads, and all of a sudden there's 30 guys with chainsaws clearing roads. But one group of employees I didn't recognize, and I know they don't want to be recognized, is our staff in Borough Hall. Meeting with Jane McCarthy, our clerk, who lives upstate and was here. She made an effort to be here. It was Jane and our treasurer, Sherry Gallagher, who, again, while most of us were off work, without power and no access to get to work, these people came to work. And they were instrumental in setting up our warming stations and helping us here. So I'd like to have a big round of applause for Jane. Thank you, everyone.
We should have had a plaque for the Bill Swoosh generator. Made it all right. What?
Solve it.
Thank you so much.
Apparently it was returned.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Ellen.
I don't know.
Say yes.
You can see. Once you take it.
She's coming back.
Oh,
Sorry. I was going to say.
that's okay. Just seats right over here. Oh, she did.
I think she went out. Sorry.
Kevin.
Thank you, everyone. This time, I need a motion to open to our early public comment for agenda items.
So moved.
Guys, need them on? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak, please come up. Yes, sir, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Bob Sherrick. I reside at 4 South Lake Iosco Road in Bloomingdale, and I'm here tonight in my capacity as president of Lake Iosco Company. We're a community of 43 families in the borough, and while we've been in this room before to complain, we're not here for that reason tonight, so please don't be floored. We have probably about 20 of my fellow residents here tonight, here simply to say thank you to all the groups that Mayor Dunleavy and the council just recognized. I won't take up your valuable time reiterating that, but there was one group who deserves a plaque and even more, and it's the people sitting up here. I applaud you for the leadership that you provide in a time of fiscal austerity. It is tough to spend the extra funds bringing in special crews that helped open up all the roads for life safety purposes much, much faster. than they otherwise would have been. We know it's a big cost to the borough. It'll cost us all, but it was a very wise expenditure. I know, your DPW superintendent, former administrator Ted Ehrenberg, advised you, and I know I spoke to the mayor and said we need help because we just can't get emergency vehicles into our lake because of some massive trees. You guys came through for us. We really appreciate it. And, I feel a little bit emotional here because you made our life a hell of a lot easier. It still took 6 to 10 days to get our power back, but it would have been much, much longer if you hadn't shown that leadership and gotten those extra crews and resources in. So, really, on behalf, Bill Kuipers wants to amplify on some of what I've said, but I just want to lead my community and everyone, I think, in applauding you.
Anyone else wishing?
If you have the stomach for a little more flowery praises, I don't know.
Yeah, sure. You see the rest of the agenda?
You guys from Lake Asco, stand up for a second, please. This is just a handful of people who personally affected by what you guys did. I'm going to go a little bit deeper. This storm was on. Pockets got hit worse than others. You were in a pocket. We were in a parts of, not even the whole lake, parts of the lake were really smacked. Lake Asco suffered extensive damage from Hurricane Sandy, including dozens of severe road blockages, and several homes were crushed. Gone, crushed. Our garages crushed. Still, we had the chance to see the best of people. We witnessed some overwhelming community spirit, a monumental cleanup effort from our town. We had many large trees down across our roads and driveways, including several blockades of 5 or 6 trees in bunches, and several of those. With some amazing help from friends and complete strangers, we were able to get the primary road around the lake more or less passable the day after the storm. But we were still in serious jeopardy in the event of any sort of emergency, as it was unlikely that any fire engine or ambulance, even you guys, could pass on the primary road and outright impossible on the secondary roads to get to the individual right. Just couldn't have been done if anything happened. The cavalry coming over the hill just when things were looking pretty grim. Al Gallagher arrived with his team from John's Lawn Service around midday on Thursday, days later. Closely followed by Ted Ehrenberg and Dan Hagberg, all of whom pledged and honored their complete support. In fact, the scope and efficiency of this cleanup machine was amazing. The full team of workers and powerful equipment was here for almost 3 long, hard days. Yet they were tireless, thorough, and really respectful of individuals. They weren't just plowing through. They were almost dainty about it. It was great. This extraordinary effort and commitment from Bloomingdale ensured emergency access to all the homes on Lake Asco and made huge strides in tackling the devastation from the storm. It doesn't look like a war zone anymore. That was a big emotional thing as well as a practical thing. They removed several major obstacles that would have delayed the power company even longer, as Bob referred to. It's hard to imagine when or where we would have gotten similar resources if we could have gotten it all. It would have been forever. So beyond anything we could have done ourselves. This support was not requested or even imagined. It just kind of showed up. I know Bob met you on the street, but here they are. It was great. This is the important part. Those 3 days turned around a desperate and overwhelming situation. You gave us relief, hope, and above all, you made us safe. What more can you ask for from your town? We're truly grateful. We can't say enough good things about all the parties involved, and particularly our sincere gratitude to you, Mr. Mayor, Al Gallagher, Ted Ehrenberg, John Ball. Dan Hagberg has also been really supportive to those of us that are going to need some serious rebuilding done. Lake Asco has enjoyed a particularly pleasant and mutually supportive relationship for the last 7 years. Since former Mayor Mr. Steenstra and Al Gallagher and his DPW assumed responsibility for plowing the snow off our crazy little goat path roads. We look forward to continuing a successful relationship for years to come. In the meantime, please accept our most sincere appreciation for the amazing support you gave us. We do understand the scope and cost of what you did for us, and we are truly grateful to everyone involved. Thanks. And this is,
Thank you.
if you could make sure this gets into the hands of everybody that needs it. Can't say enough. Al Gallagher's always been there for us. John Ball was great. We're sorry to lose him.
Yep.
Everybody, thanks.
Thanks very much. Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Oh, ladies first.
From Hudson, 12 Walnut Street. I have some comments about the rescinding of the redevelopment zone. I've been coming to the council meetings now for a few years. And I was here when the pilot program was not passed. But I was also here when Councilman Yazdi made the comment about why he voted no. And I was also here when you made the comment that you will continue to fight for the pilot program. I think that attending these council meetings, it's been very clear what Councilman Yazdi stands for as far as the redevelopment zone and the pilot, what Councilman D'Amato stands for, and what you stand for, Mr. Nominee, and what everyone else does. I think it's also pretty clear to everyone what the councilmen-elect and what their plan is after speaking with them and reading the literature that came out. So I guess one would conclude that you're going to continue to fight for the pilot and to keeping the redevelopment zone of Union Avenue as is. That said, rescinding the redevelopment zone, again, one would conclude, is going to be pretty costly if it gets rescinded and then you choose to fight for it again. So my question is, what is that going to cost the taxpayers?
That's a good question. If the ordinance is successfully rescinded and a new majority in 2013 chooses to then start all over, is in essence what it would be, starting all over. It would entail the introduction, first the governing body referring it to the planning board, the planning stage, starting it all over. The advertising process, the professionals involved, I mean, to put a number on it, it cost us close to 10 grand to get to where we were, which will then pretty much be for naught. So conservatively, you know, I would say that would be a conservative number. But then, it just prolongs the benefits of why we thought the governing body as a whole, because remember, the redevelopment passed 5-1, I believe. So the same Councilwoman Patouche was repealing it, voted yes for it initially, with the absolute intent to then go for the pilot. So to start all over, there's that whole process all over again, and then delaying those financial benefits to the borough as a result of it. So it'll be delayed in that, sir. It's just doing it over.
So it will be costing all of us money. Again,
Sir?
I guess, knowing that, I would think everyone sitting up in the dais is very clear as to what every single council person's views are on this, including those of the council-elect. Knowing that, it's pretty clear that this is really a tit for tat. That to rescind this is going to cost the taxpayers money, so the question is, why bother? It's something that you all voted for in the first place. You voted for this redevelopment. And I have to be honest with you, this to me is very angering. It's angering that you voted for this, and now you've changed your mind. Something that in the first place has cost everybody in this room money, and everybody in this town money, and now it's just going to cost us more. I clearly don't understand. And I think that it's such a terrible thing to put on these townspeople. And it's a real tit for tat, and I don't like it at all. And I think that it really needs to be reconsidered that Union Avenue stays a redevelopment zone. Because you're not just talking about the pilot, and you're not just talking about Avalon Bay, you're talking about the entire Union Avenue. Is that not correct?
Well,
Or part of Union Avenue?
the ordinance, specifically this ordinance, is site-specific to Avalon Bay. But as I've stated on the record numerous times, the plan would be to then extend the redevelopment from Van Dam to the horse farm and all of Main Street. But this particular ordinance that is being proposed to rescind or
It's
repeal.
strictly for Avalon
It's
Bay?
Strictly for Avalon Bay.
But what does this mean for current development, or for future development? That we're going to then put another ordinance in and then rescind that one?
Well, if I was a prospective developer looking at Bloomingdale and the history of such actions, yeah, I have concern of
Doesn't look very good.
making it my home, and that is concerning to me. But to your point earlier, you know, I don't want to politicize it, but the election was about this issue. I mean, there was a lot of issues involved, but the election, I feel, came down to the pilot in a large way. Particularly because the incumbents ran on that issue. Vote for us and there'll be no pilot. In essence, what the incumbents ran. And as a result of the election, with new councilman-elect coming aboard in January, I would argue that a mandate suggested otherwise, that the pilot was supported by the public. To your point again, knowing our position, I've made it quite clear, mine, I know Councilman Yazdi and Romano have as well, that our intent was to pursue the pilot even in 2013. So now that we know who the players will be in 2013, we will forge ahead on the issue. So why, to your point, repeal it now? Because we're just going to have to reintroduce it for no other reason than, I don't know, anger, spite, I can't figure it out. Because we're just going to have to start all over. It's something that is quite obviously inevitably going to happen. So why give it away?
Well, I think that your point is a good point, and that was going to be my last, and that is that I think the people of Bloomingdale voted, and it was an overwhelming win, and it's a clear show to the people of Bloomingdale, but more so to the council, what the people of Bloomingdale want. And they want the pilot and to keep the redevelopment zone. So.
John Darcy, 80 South Road. Dawn, thank you. You said pretty much exactly what I would like to have said as well. I really can't take it much further than the fact that the point being that the council, the council-elect ran exactly on what you had just said, that the pilot program would move forward, and they won on almost a 2-to-1 ratio. So I think the people of Bloomingdale have spoken in what they want. All right? That was said. I won't belabor that point. But what I would like to do is, Councilwoman Patuch, you will not be here next year, so this is not directed at you. However, Councilman Conklin, Councilwoman Shortling, I appeal to you. Tonight, when this comes up, please consider what the town wants. It's your job as council members to do what we want. So I am appealing to you. Ms. Shortman, I understand your position. I read it in the patch, and I don't think my appeal to you will work this evening, but I hope, personally, I appeal to you to please consider what the voters want. Mr. Conklin, I haven't heard anything from you, but I am asking you personally, please, when this comes up tonight, don't vote party lines, but vote for what we want. Vote for what the town has clearly, by a 2-to-1 margin, voted on. And do what's right. You're here for another year. I want to sit here and I want to be with you. I want to know that you're going to do what's right for Bloomingdale. And this is your opportunity tonight, is to make that choice. Don't vote with the party, but make the choice on your own and do what's right and what we all want. That's my appeal to you. Please, at least consider that in the time that we have, so when it comes to a vote later on in the evening, that you at least are comfortable knowing that you've made that choice, whatever it might be. But I just cannot appeal to you enough to know that we want you on our side. We want you to do what we all voted for. And it's your vote tonight that will make the difference.
Graff at 8 Linden Lane. As of yesterday, my wife and I have lived in this town for 42 years. But I make these comments tonight, not just as a resident, but as a member of the planning board. I cannot speak for the planning board, I'm not authorized to do so, but certainly as a member, I'm expressing my comments to you guys. When you asked us to consider the Avalon Bay site for a redevelopment zone, right? You asked us to do a preliminary study. The planning board did that preliminary study. Now, I heard some words here tonight from Joanne Patuch that made me want to come up here early on in the discussion. I really had no intention to, very frankly. But I heard the phrase blighted area. And I've got to tell you folks, you also have read the planning information that we read. It was available to you. It was part of the information that we sent back to you. Our consultant did not mention in anything written or verbal, mention blighted area. Of the 8 or so criteria that we had to consider to identify the Avalon Bay site as a redevelopment zone, blighted area didn't come into it. That lexicon is not part of the phraseology that we even considered. Right? It's not in there. So I don't know where it comes from. I really don't. I've seen it in print. I've seen it on the blogs. I've seen people comment here, there about it. And some people try and defend it, this, that, and the other thing. But the bottom line is, at the planning board level, and you asked us to do this, the blighted area did not come into play at all. I mean, this site has no relevance to the blighted area for the 8 or so criteria that we have to choose from. And in identifying this as a redevelopment zone, all we had to do was ensure that the site met one of the 8. That's what the state gave us tremendous latitude here. It gave municipalities tremendous latitude. Right? You didn't have to meet 8 of the 8, 6 of the 8, 4 of the 8. You had to meet one of the 8 in order to declare it a redevelopment zone. Right? We felt, our planning consultant felt, that this site met 3 of the 8. Right? And we batted those around for quite some time at the planning board level, and we held public hearings on them also. Unfortunately, there weren't many people at those public hearings. But so be it. Right? So it met 3 of the 8. And blighted area was not even, the phraseology just isn't there. It doesn't exist in what we considered. It does not exist certainly in what we sent back to you folks as our recommendation. So it's the phrase that brought me up here in the beginning, all right, at the beginning of these comments, and I'm sure that there will be other comments this evening just as worthy as the 2 that we have just heard. But I wanted to state that for the record, all right, that at the planning board level, and what we sent back to you, I don't know where that phrase came from. I don't know who conjured it up, but it certainly wasn't something that we considered, nor was it something that we even thought about for this particular site. Right? You could read the details once again if you wish to do that. It's a matter of public record. Right? Now, having said that, what you're contemplating doing this evening, and once again, I make these comments as a member of the planning board. What you're contemplating doing this evening is rescinding the ordinance, or at least starting that process, that has rescinding the redevelopment plan, which really was enacted by the ordinance. Right? The fact that it's a redevelopment zone, a redevelopment area, is another issue, an entirely different issue. All right? Mutually exclusive of what you're intending to do tonight, or contemplating to do tonight. Right? But the fact that you're going to perhaps, all right, rescind the redevelopment plan that was presented to you by the consultant, that you then sent to us, the planning board, to review and to consider and to see if we thought some changes should be made to it, et cetera, before we sent it back to you folks, right? So once again, we did the same thing, public hearings, batted it around at the planning board level, interrogated the consultants, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right? So it came back to you folks. We suggested that you approve it, which you did. All right? Fine. Now, for whatever reason, all right, perhaps that's one I heard today, all right? For whatever reason, you're considering rescinding it, all right? So you have found some new information, something, when you first approved it, all right, and you thought that what the planning board did was good work, all right, in approving this. Now you have reconsidered and you found some things that perhaps have changed your mind. All well and good. You need to vote your conscience, all right? And I've been where you are, all right? Many of you know that. You have to vote your conscience. Sometimes that goes against what the majority may want. I understand that fully also, all right? But in voting your conscience, I would ask you one thing from a planning board perspective. Please identify what elements of that redevelopment plan, which you are beginning to rescind, please identify for us what elements of that redevelopment plan you have now considered to be inappropriate. You have now considered to be objectionable. Because A, if we have to go through this again, we would like to have the benefit of that information. We really and truly would. So we don't make the same mistakes, perhaps that you feel we made. Right? I personally don't feel we made any, very frankly. I personally feel that the work that the planning board did was based on solid consultancy work, a solid report, all right, based on the state statutes. Everything we did was according to that state statute, and we dotted every I and we crossed every T. Right? So, and if you are going to begin the process to rescind that redevelopment plan, and that's in essence what you're doing, all right? You're not taking away the fact that this is a redevelopment zone. That you're not doing by this action, and I hope you realize that, all right? What you're doing is rescinding the redevelopment plan. Right? So please tell us specifically what in there that we sent to you is objectionable. Please tell us specifically what you feel now is inappropriate. Because clearly in the beginning, you didn't feel any part of it was inappropriate or objectionable. Right? So as a member of the planning board, Mr. Mayor, I put that request on the record. Right? That if anyone is going to vote in the affirmative to rescind this ordinance, please tell us, give us the benefit of what you know, all right? So that perhaps that can help us moving forward. All right? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Too much.
Thank you, sir. If I may, on that topic, I will, because I believe Mr. Graff, as a planning board member and as a resident, is entitled to that answer. That I would defer to Councilwoman Patush, because this is your initiative to put this on the agenda. From the initial criteria that was met, established by a planner, approved by the planning board, voted by the governing body, and blight is not one of them that you referred to earlier, what has changed for you to now think this should be repealed?
We'll wait till we come to that point.
Well, we're at that point. That's
Tell
what
us.
I'm saying. I know. And the resident, through the chair, asked a question that I am now turning to the council person who initiated this. Excuse me?
The public wants to know. Ask at this time.
What you've
Councilman
done.
Conklin, how about you? Because you voted no on taking it off the agenda. Do you have any, what changed for you, other than blight, because that was never a reason for its approval, that makes you want to repeal this?
Did I say I wanted to repeal it?
Well, you voted no to remove it from the agenda, so maybe I was confused, so. Okay, thank you. Councilman Sherman, any comment?
I will make a comment when we have discussion on the vote.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak to an item? Yes?
Record back to 46 Sunset Road, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Paducci, please say it ain't so. You're not going to take the majority for a ride and rescind this at the expense of Bloomingdale. It's just not right. Please tell us, I really want to know, I want to ask the same question. What do you see
Could you
wrong
ask him
with
to
this?
address the chair, please?
Mr. Mitchell, can you just address the chair,
Well,
and I'll try again after the phone.
Good luck with that.
She won't answer. She doesn't answer.
it's a done deal, we know what's going to happen, but to go ahead and rescind this ordinance just for spite, which is what this really is, it's just, I wouldn't even know how to describe it properly. There's no real description for this. I mean, I was here last time, and I basically told Mrs. Paduch that if she goes ahead, if they don't want to pass the pilot, they're going to lose the election. That's exactly what they did. We've got 2 members of the board right now, and I would implore them to please neither make the motion, second the motion, and if they do want to vote on it, vote in the abstain or to strike down the motion. I know there are plenty of people back here that want to say the same thing. It's just spiteful. You don't want to take the majority for a ride just to spite Bloomingdale for whatever reason we don't know. We've been assured by the members of the council that they will address the issues at the time. Well, the time is here. The time is now. They're going to go ahead and they're going to do something that's, frankly, I don't know if the court will allow me to say it, but I'm going to say it. It's a childish act. It simply is a childish act. It should not go on. It should not go on in this environment. Yeah, sorry.
Just if I may, Zalfield was just waiting over, and we'll come right to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it basically costs the taxpayers $10,000 to do the process to where we are now.
Right.
So basically rescinding it, it is going to cost the taxpayers $20,000 minimally, because rates go up on our experts. I'd like to know, Mr. Mayor, who wrote the ordinance?
That's a great question. I actually Oprah Public Record Act, to try to find that out myself. I Oprah through our clerk to Councilwoman Patouche I wanted to see any correspondence on how this developed, this whole concept, from any meetings that may have been had, and who authored it. And the response, Madam Clerk?
The response was there were no emails back and forth, and they did not have to give who authored it. That was not a requirement.
The reason for my question, Mr. Mayor, is very simple. If a professional has rewritten or written this rescinding ordinance, wouldn't we have to pay the professional at some time? Either this year or it's a carryover bill?
Well, the only professional that I would rely on
Would be our
preparing any
attorney.
such document is our borough attorney, who did not prepare the ordinance that is on the agenda. So it's a great question, which I will try now, 2 seconds, to ask Councilwoman Patouche, who put this on the agenda, will you please tell the public who authored this ordinance?
What a joke.
So,
All right, my next question, Mr. Mayor, is why does the public not have the availability to read this ordinance? Because, as we all know, there's paperwork outside the front door when ordinances are brought forward.
Well,
And
it's
the
an
public
introduction.
has the right to read these.
no, you're right, but after the introduction. So there's an introduction, and then the clerk has, what's the time frame? Paper. Then it's advertised, then it's open to the public. But, yeah, I mean, it's not a matter of, the clerk was presented an ordinance on the agenda, the public is not presented until there's nothing live about it until it's introduced.
Well, I just have one other comment,
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, and that is, as a former Republican, this is why I left the party. And I got bashed for it. But I am glad I did what I did, because partisan politics has no right whatsoever
on this for a while, and I just don't understand how so many people can look at something for so long, vote on it, and then all of a sudden, I got an idea, this is not a good idea. And then turn around, and it's gonna cost us all this money, for what? Just because I don't want it? That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, thank you for your comments. I
All I gotta say.
haven't been able to get those answers. Thank you.
Carolyn Ross, 87 Wood Place. I'm not going to address Mrs. Patuch because I see that's useless. And I want to address Mrs. Shortman because I don't think that's useless. Mr. Graff or Graff is a perfect example of how wonderful the planning board is. That is what I experienced when I was on the planning board, that kind of thoughtfulness, that kind of work, nonpartisan, caring, working together, unlike our Congress and unlike this council. And the greatest thing the planning board did, and I know Mrs. Shortman will agree with me, we really listened to the public. In fact, you were part of the public once when you came before the planning board and you had a problem in your neighborhood and you wanted the planning board to listen to that garage problem, and we did. And we voted your way. Why do I get the feeling that this council is not going to listen to the public no matter what we say? I feel like you've all decided, and that's it. You want your way. You don't care what the public thinks. You don't care that you lost an election by a landslide. You don't care that you constantly campaign on saving this money. You, Linda, talked about saving, cost-cutting all year long. And now you're willing to spend this money? You know we're going to do it. We're going to have the pilot. That is the will of the town. So why do you want to punish the people for kicking you off the board? That's what you want to do? Well, I can tell you that whoever votes with Mrs. Patuch is the next to go.
That's right.
Hello.
Hi, my name's Catherine Emery. I live at 89 Wood Place, and this is the first council meeting I've ever been able to attend. I do as much reading as I can about the meetings, and I have to say, I find this incredibly sad. This is a very small town, and we all run into each other all the time, at the pharmacy, at the post office, at the bank. And when there is behavior that is disrespectful, it is extremely upsetting to then run into each other in public places or when you're our neighbor and live right next to us. When the people are asking for answers, Councilwoman Patuch, I don't understand why you aren't willing. I'm sorry, I guess I can't address her directly, but I can't understand why a council person would not feel that they could at least give some inkling, some indication of where their choices, where their impetus for making these decisions is coming from. Because to the rest of us sitting out there, it's disrespectful. And can I just say that when we vote, we put our trust in you. We put our trust in the planning board, we put our trust in the mayor, but above all, we put our trust in you folks. And when you don't listen to the people, and when we feel that you are not acting in our best interests, we respond with our votes, which we did. And I'm sorry to say that in our response with our votes, some of you are leaving the council. And that is why it feels like spite and not a reasoned decision. And above all, when we run into each other in the pharmacy, at the bank, at the post office, on the sidewalk, at the Dunkin' Donuts, I'm going to wonder why you chose to cost me more money in a small town that is hemorrhaging. We all need the support of all of you. We need you to listen. We really need you to listen, to care, and to respect us. And if you disagree, let the people's votes guide you. And if we've made a mistake with our votes, believe me, we will vote again. But if we haven't, we would want you to be able to say to us, you know what, I'm going to hold my head up high and say, I might have made a mistake here. This was a good idea. But what you're doing is really terrible and disrespectful to the people. And that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you.
Andrew Buxbaum, 227 Rafkin Road. I just wanted to address everyone here. I'm a new resident of the town, and reading about what's been going on, I couldn't believe that this kind of sideshow act would be happening in a community that, from everything I've seen, is very close and everyone cares about each other. And we all saw that with the storm. I want to approach this from a different way. The money this is going to cost us. Next time we have another, God forbid, storm this bad, and we don't have the money for a response to it, we can all go back to this whole spiteful situation here and, see where the money went. It's going to cost it's only going to cost the town. It's going to cost, the council people sitting at this table money. The election, 2-to-1 margin voted off the council. Go with what the people want. It's that simple. And give the people answers. We just want to know what your reasoning is. The very least you owe us when you're going to be costing us money is to give us answers as to why you're costing us this kind of money.
Thank you.
Mark, now that you know, by rescinding this order, it's not going to completely dismantle the progress we're doing downtown, but only put in question what you've already passed. Would you rescind this motion?
But I'm not answering the question.
Because genuinely, now that you know by rescinding this resolution, it's not going to completely stop the redevelopment on Union Ave. It's just going to put to question what we've already passed. Why we passed it? What new information have you come up with? That's what it's only put into question. It's not going to completely stop the redevelopment down there on Union Ave. Knowing that now, like the gentleman who spoke from the planning board, would you still vote to rescind this resolution? Listen, I'm genuinely upset. I'm running out of money as a taxpayer. I'm running, and you know what? I know a lot of people here are also. When I left the council 3 years ago, the only thing I said was that I was putting my trust in those who came up to me. Didn't say if they were Democrat, Republican. I put my trust in you. The only thing, and I don't come to a lot of meetings. Am I correct? You don't see me here. I let you do your work. But this has got me genuinely upset. Can't afford it. I can't afford it. I know 1,000 other people will say the same thing. Can't afford it. What is the purpose of it? It's strictly spite. And I have some. Joanne, listen. When I ran, and I re-ran again, I lost big. People wanted change. I took it. I walked out the door. Do the same thing. Don't vote for spite. It's not going to work.
I have a different opinion than everybody else here. I live in 86 Van Avenue. The reason why, my understanding from the research that I have learned, that the redevelopment zone was not done correctly is because the planning board, as was stated, they didn't consider a blighted area. And there was Gallagher case, it was called Gallagher Realty Development versus the Borough of Paulsboro. So the New Jersey Supreme Court required a change to the New Jersey Constitution that requires that land be within a blighted area in order to be considered an area near redevelopment. If that wasn't considered, the planning board didn't consider it, didn't do it properly. And therefore, I don't believe that the awareness was done correctly.
On that, good night. Wow.
I'm just going to defer to the attorney on that comment.
I just want to mention a couple of things. One, I already reviewed the Gatlin case. I rendered an opinion at the request of a member of the governing body. I discussed it publicly with a resident, the title's resident Shipman. He spoke as a member of the public. And I don't believe that that case in any way impacts the actions of the governing body. With respect to that word blighted, I use a treatise, very well-known land use treatise by William Cox that any planning board member has probably heard over the years. And he says here, previous legislation followed the constitutional terminology and used the term blighted. The term has been abandoned in favor of, quote, an area in need of redevelopment terminology pursuant to the statute. So there's nothing wrong in trying to discuss or wedge the word blighted or saying that that's omitted. I'll just respond by saying that's not accurate, and I've just read the reason why. The proper terminology is area in need of redevelopment, and that's precisely what was used here.
But there's A, B, and C in the statute. C is that the area must be a blighted area. And if it's not a blighted area, it can't be considered an area near redevelopment. Now, you said you've come to us as far as the council was correct. What was the other planning board? If they didn't consider that as a blighted area?
I just said the words are interchangeable. That's from a treatise, that's from a case, Earth versus the city of Hoboken. It's an appellate division case in 2001. It's an interchangeable word, and I would say, gladly go through it when we get to that point at the meeting, but I'll go through all the steps that, once again, just validate those actions. If there's a policy change, there's a policy change. But as I've said repeatedly through this process, and I've answered every question regarding the validity of all the steps, everything's in order. I just don't want to sit here and have a client be told, or a governing body be told, that they did something wrong, or nonetheless even a planning board who, in my opinion, handled it in a textbook manner. So many times you see these type of processes go through and they're rubber stamped. That's not what happened. And for anyone to go forward this evening to say that we're going to change the course or refute a 27-page planner's report without such documentation, I can't say that in itself is, in my opinion, would be an arbitrary and capricious type action.
But if it didn't consider it, that was a blighted area. I don't understand. I have to help it out, go home and bring it back. It specifically states it must be considered, you must consider whether the area is a blighted area. Now, if you...
You're saying that we use the word, you're saying we use the word in need of redevelopment. And I'm reading to you specifically where it says, the term has been abandoned in favor of, quote, area in need of redevelopment terminology pursuant to the statute. This is to be considered the equivalent of the constitutional blighted terminology. I can't say it any
So
clearer.
you're saying to me that it no longer says blighted in the statute?
Yeah.
I'm saying the words are interchangeable.
I don't, no, I guess.
No, I'm not saying there's other legal
That's
opinions.
what I'm saying.
I'm saying you're incorrect.
If you want to,
Anyone else? Yes, please.
Robert Eck, 66 West Shore Drive. I've just been following these subjects, and I voted with my heart and voted with the winning people because one of the things was the pilot, and I just thought all of the reasons for it made sense to me, and I just appealed to the council to keep that going, and hopefully some people could go with better conscience, and that's it.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing no one, I have a motion to close public comment.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Before we proceed, what I'd like to do is actually deal with this item immediately. I'd like to move item 15F to the forefront on the ordinance which would be numbering 23-2012, the ordinance rescinding 12-2012. We'll deal with this now rather than go through the balance of our agenda. So the item is going to be dealt with now.
Motion for recess?
I'll second.
All in favor? You got a second already? Yeah, for how long?
Really?
For how long? We'll go 10 minutes, and we'll be back at 8:35. All in favor? Any opposed? Opposed? You're opposed? We will recess for 10 minutes.
Good, that's right.
Okay, we'll resume at 8:37.
Let me get in more gracefully this one, all right? I won't knock the camera over.
Yes, good.
Okay, we're going to proceed. We on the table at the moment was item 15F, which is an introduction of ordinance 23-2012. If there's a motion. Do I possibly have a motion now to remove that item from the agenda?
I'll make that motion to remove.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Have a roll call.
Councilmember Tomato?
Yes.
Toots? No. Shorten? No. Yazdi?
Yes.
Conklin?
No. Okay, hearing no motion to move the ordinance, I would have to assume that.
I'd like to make a motion to table this one.
I second that motion.
Oh, why table this, Jess?
Because I think more research has to be done. I think eyes have.
We've done all our research. There's no research to be done. It was brought forward by the majority of this governing body, it's either going to die tonight or be introduced.
Then I'll withdraw.
So I hear no motion, so I would just, for the record, state
We're
that.
keeping it on the, are we voting on it now? Okay.
Well, if you make
I
a
make
motion,
There's
I
no
make a
motion.
I make a motion to introduce the ordinance rescinding ordinance 12-2012 by the title of redevelopment. Can you take over now? or-
Is there,
you need a second, just have a discussion.
now we have discussion. Is there a second on that motion?
There's no second, then Mayor, the ordinance doesn't get introduced and it dies.
The motion dies. Okay. So there's no second on that motion? So the introduction of the repealing ordinance.
I have a motion.
Right. I need a second.
I made a motion rescinding ordinance 12-20 and redevelopment plan adopted under ordinance 12-2012.
Correct. And is there a second? This is for discussion. Again, there is no second.
You'll second it for discussion,
There's a second. Now, is there discussion on this motion?
Well, I think we're entitled to the explanation now.
Okay. Redevelopment Housing Law, New Jersey, SA 40A:12A, The basis upon property can be designated area in need of redevelopment or set forth. Standard unsafe, unsanitary, dilapidated, and dilapidated buildings. Okay? Land owned by municipality, court, county, local housing authority, redevelopment agency, or redevelopment entity, or unimproved vacancy, vacant land that has been vacant for 10 years prior to the adoption of the resolution is not likely to be developed through private capital. Am I correct? Due to the property location, remoteness, lack of means, access, topography, or nature of the soil. Areas with building improvements, which is due to obstacle, overcrowding, or failed design, deterioration, self-help, safety, and morale or well community. Growth of lack or complete lack of property utilized of areas caused by conditions of title, diverse ownership, or property otherwise conditioned result in stagnant or not fully protected conditions of land potentially used for the contributing to serve the public health and safety and welfare, or part of smart growth planning. In the ruling of the Supreme Court, clear and equivalent held that the redevelopment statute to apply under any conditions set forth is the core of the property must be blighted, which means that the deterioration or stagnation of the property in which is being sought to be redeveloped as a dedicated area of surrounding property. In performing its analysis, the Supreme Court has indicated that symbols of blighted defined by the courts and legislation and other matters include finding such areas conducive to ill health, transmission of disease, infant mortality, juvenile delinquency, and crime. And that's why. And I don't think that this was totally, this area is not that at all. It was beautiful forest area. That's why I'm considering it.
Okay, then I have to ask you.
And that's why I wish to go back to the planning board. Just to make sure.
Go back to the planning board. Right.
Was that the motion?
No,
Send it back to planning board?
No, the motion, we're in discussion. The motion was to introduce the repeal. And I have to ask the question, Councilwoman, because you gave your explanation. The governing body started the process by hiring Burgess, the planning company, to present the redevelopment plan, which we then forwarded to the planning board. As stated numerous times on the record, the planning board did their due diligence, and through much debate and public hearings as well, came back with a very clear recommendation that this area is an area you need to redevelop. So you voted yes on that.
I did.
And so there was in that report that we all should have read, there was criteria that was proven to be met by this piece of land, by Burgess planners, by our planning board. So what, you still haven't answered the question, what's changed from that criteria that was originally met to today?
Because of the Supreme Court ruling on which the Supreme Court clearly unethically held that for redevelopment statute apply under any conditions set forth. After reading this, that's why I'm doing it. And this is my decision.
Then before I'll defer to our attorney, I will ask you one more time. Who authored the ordinance?
I just,
You have to disclose to me who authored the ordinance you want to put on the books.
no, I don't.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
It's up here for discussion if ever got here. No one is obligated to necessarily say.
Well, as the mayor, and I'm sure as any of our governing body members for or against
What was that comment?
would want to know. You don't have to divulge. But I'm stating as mayor, and any of our governing body members for or against, and our public, I think is absolutely entitled to know who authored it. I would not put anything on the books that was not authorized by one of our professionals. That's
It
why,
wasn't done by one of our hour professionals.
so I'm asking you to please disclose.
I don't have
The people want you to.
to. I don't have to.
But why not?
Disgrace. Why are you in this room then?
In spite. I gave you my answer there. Can we go forward onto our answer?
No, no,
Going
still in
backwards.
discussion. Mr. Attorney, I'll defer to you for a few minutes.
Yes, the comments that were made relate to the designation. It takes issue with the designation of an area of redevelopment. The history here is the council authorized an investigation as to whether this area of the municipality is in need of redevelopment. The planning board conducted the investigation and made a determination with a report of a licensed professional planner and a recommendation that the property is in fact an area in need of redevelopment. This governing body then adopted a resolution that designated this area in need of redevelopment. And then the planning board was asked to consider a redevelopment plan and an ordinance. And the planner was asked to prepare such a plan. The plan was reviewed by the planning board. It documented all of the reasons for a redevelopment plan. Just to go back for a moment, the designation in an area in need of redevelopment was recommended and found by a professional planner who investigated and was hired to investigate whether or not it qualified under the statute. And that planner did in fact find 3 different criteria that was met. In the case of this gap, that's not what happened. There was only 1 criteria that was mentioned. And also in the Gatlin case, which I think is notable, the opposition had their own planner with their own opinion. These findings were not refuted. In fact, they were endorsed by the planning board and they were endorsed by the governing body. So fast forward to the ordinance that was adopted. And just as a judge would do in a prerogative writ, it's very important to note for the record, just from a legal perspective, that the ordinance that you're seeking to repeal has whereas clauses. And that's the factual basis for the decision that was made by the governing body. I'll just highlight that the ordinance that you seek to repeal says a planning consultant was hired and had prepared a redevelopment plan. And the redevelopment plan was referred to the planning board for review and recommendation. And following a public hearing, the planning board voted to approve the redevelopment plan. And then this governing body adopted an ordinance, I believe unanimously, that said the governing body hereby determines that the redevelopment plan for the property is necessary and appropriate. It is in compliance with the dictates of the local redevelopment housing law and will result in the successful redevelopment of the subject property, which has been declared to be an area in need of redevelopment. So now what we have here this evening is, I don't know who prepared the ordinance, but I will say this, the ordinance gives absolutely no basis for repeal. The purpose is simply written as, the purpose of the ordinance is to rescind the ordinance and the redevelopment plan. So there's no basis for this. And if this type of legislation, one, gets referred to the planning board, the planning board doesn't have, for example, this matter being revisited by a professional planner or any other opinion contrary to what's already been found and determined in a thoughtful opinion and report that's been prepared. There's no purpose at all in this ordinance. And I don't know how the planning board would be able to review this and make a determination that this rescinding of the ordinance is, for example, no longer consistent with the master plan and no longer achieves the goals that this governing body already endorsed. So if something like this goes forward, again, I've always said, if you have a policy, that's one thing. But from a legal perspective, I don't see how we would be able to sustain this type of significant change in planning based on what's already been made a record, reviewed, and endorsed, and adopted by this governing body and the planning board, to go ahead and say simply, well, we repeal this, and there's, in this ordinance, there's not one single reason given. So if this were to go forward, and if this were to be adopted, my concern is, I'll say this now, not later, that if someone were to challenge this, even the property owners that are affected by this, they're going to allege it was arbitrary and capricious. They're going to immediately want to take depositions and find out, what's the basis? Where did this come from? Because there's nothing in the record that supports this type of change. The only thing in the record is what I just read. The reports by the planners, the decision and the record made by the planning board, the determination made by this governing body, and 2 reports by a licensed professional planner who did in fact investigate this and make these determinations and recommendations to the governing body. So if you're going to go forward with something like this, without that type of foundation, not only are you going to, there's discussion about, well, if you ever have to go back and do this, it's going to be costly. We, as a municipality, are going to be subjected to a very vulnerable position, to say the least, because someone is going to come and say, you have a complete record, complete foundation for a redevelopment plan, and all of this as part of the record, and now with one piece of paper, you're saying, we repeal it. And I really don't look forward to that kind of challenge by any property owner or any other resident who's affected by, or any resident would actually have standing to file such a challenge, because there's no other documentation in support of this. That Supreme Court case has been in existence well in advance of the professional planner's opinion, and well in advance of the planning board's thoughtful opinions and determinations, and this governing body's determination. So they're going to say in a matter of 3 months that your action is going to override what you called just 2 months ago a redevelopment plan for the property, which is necessary and appropriate and in compliance with the dictates of the local redevelopment housing law, and will result in the successful redevelopment of the subject property, which has been declared to be an area of redevelopment. Then I would ask you to please consider what you've already endorsed and the action you've already taken.
So Fred, you're saying you can get sued for this? So if Avalon Bay lost their ability to get benefits from the pilot, they could potentially come and sue us for that.
I'm saying from a land use perspective, someone, we are going to be in a very vulnerable position to just take action without any foundation whatsoever.
Right, in real simple terms, we couldn't have documented it any better to the point where we are that it's a redevelopment area designated as such, for the reasons Fred just stated. The ordinance to repeal is just unsubstantiated. There's no substantiated documentation to dismiss what the borough has already, the position the borough has already taken. So Councilwoman Petrucci, I just have to ask you, based on that legal advice, and that's why I asked about the author of this, because it's not an adequate ordinance, because there's no, in essence, you would need another planner to give you a planning document to support your position, which opposes the position the governing body supported 3 months ago. And that's lacking, and may or may add. I believe it's strictly graph. Not sure what law school he went to, graph, but he's accurate when he says that this action in itself does not eliminate the fact that we've already designated this area in need of redevelopment based on that criteria. This is an act addressed to attack or overturn the redevelopment plan in the ordinance. There's nothing in this ordinance that talks about, this repeal ordinance, that talks about the area in need of redevelopment. It doesn't even address, this repeal doesn't address the allegation that the planner, for
was incorrect to find 3 criteria, the planning board was incorrect, and the governing body was incorrect to say that it does meet the criteria.
Hey, Mayor,
Yes.
could we ask Mr. Graff to come up for 1 second? Part of this discussion, I think he would have some input that would benefit us all. Is that okay?
I have no problem with it.
Okay, then.
I think he has a statement.
I'm fine with
I
it.
think we just, I want to review,
Well, I think a lot of what our attorney said,
we referenced to him, so I think.
May I, Mr. Mayor, excuse me?
Yeah.
I'd just like to make one comment, if I may, and maybe elaborate. The redevelopment plan that this ordinance is contemplating repealing, and I hope you all understand that that redevelopment plan is in large part the inclusionary multifamily zone that is on the zoning ordinance books of this town. So in large part, what you're contemplating repealing, that redevelopment plan is, as I said, in large part, whether it's not 85 or 90%, I don't know. Right? But in large part, that redevelopment plan is nothing more than the inclusionary multifamily zone that property is zoned for. Right? With some additional add-ons that our planning consultant incorporated in the redevelopment plan. So I'm not so sure what you think you're accomplishing other than starting a process. And I apologize for beating a dead horse here, folks. Right? But the point is this. Right? All you're contemplating repealing is a zoning ordinance, in essence, that is on the books of this borough in any case. And in this case, it's called the redevelopment plan. Right? The wheel wasn't reinvented here by our planner. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. So what Mr. Semrau has read, the ordinance that you have introduced or trying to introduce this evening, does nothing more than repeal the redevelopment plan, which, as I said, in large part, is nothing more than the existing zoning on that piece of property. The fact that it's been declared a redevelopment zone, you did by resolution 2012 I think it was, Jane, correct me, 16.8, if I'm not mistaken. That is the resolution that sometime in the springtime, you approved to declare it a redevelopment zone after our initial study. There's nothing to do with that. It's still a redevelopment zone. The resolution is still on the books of this borough. All right? So all you're doing is contemplating repealing the redevelopment zone, all right? Which is nothing more than the inclusionary multifamily zone with some add-ons from a planning perspective to make it consistent with the local housing and redevelopment law. Right? That's all you're doing. That's all you're accomplishing, folks. All right? And yeah, are you going to start a process again? Probably. All right? But that's all you do. There is no greater good here. There is nothing that is being unearthed that is of tremendous value. All right? All you're doing is repealing a redevelopment plan that is in large part the existing zoning for the piece of property. Only and it will remain that way. All right? Whether Avalon Bay chooses to develop or whether they choose to walk. All right? At this point in time.
They're
All right?
building.
I'm
They were
sorry?
going to build anyway.
Makes it.
So
You
you
know,
have to do
I will make this comment and then I'll excuse myself. All right? That was one of the considerations, Mrs. Patuch, that we at the planning board spent hours with our planning consultant and our attorneys going over. Because we looked at that one criteria, the one of the 8. We took each one of those and we beat it to death, every single one of them. All right? And we gave it an awful lot of consideration. All right? And one of those things was that it probably would not be developed with private capital. And some of us even said, well, how can this satisfy that particular criteria when we know Avalon Bay is there and that's private capital? But you know what? The point is, Avalon Bay could walk at any point in time. At that juncture in time, when we were considering the redevelopment plan, right? There was nothing to say. Avalon Bay, if you recall, had not pulled one building permit at that point in time. Right? Not one. right? They could have walked at any point in time. Our plan, when we brought that up to our planner said, yeah, all well and good, but you have no guarantees that any developer is not going to walk. All right, and that happens around this state time and time and time and time again. So it fit that particular criteria. Of the 8 that we had, 3 of them we felt and the planner felt were met. So, you guys got to follow your conscience, and I truly understand that. But please do that with full knowledge of just what you're doing. All you're doing is repealing, in essence, a zone that will be in place for that piece of property, and you're repealing an ordinance that allows the borough to move forward with perhaps a pilot program if they so choose to do, all right? Which the borough can do at any point in time, all right? But you're not repealing a pilot program, or anything of that nature. That there may be some misconception there. The pilot program is separate from the fact that you have a redevelopment zone and the fact that you have adopted a redevelopment plan. That is not a pilot program. You have the ability to negotiate a pilot program if you so desire, which is what you were doing. Right? But understand what you're repealing if that's in fact what you do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's consistent.
I'm reminded by my good friend and counsel here, Mr. Owenschlager, that what we have here in the inclusionary multifamily zone is court-ordered zoning. Right? That's exactly what we have. We have court-ordered zoning. Right? And the IMF is just that. So, and why did we get the court-ordered zoning? Because of one word: no, no, no. And Bloomingdale said that year in and year out. All right? Everybody that came before this borough for years, all right, it was no, no, no. All right? So that's why we have court-ordered zoning. Initially, I said at one point in time, I was very proud of this whole mayoral council when Mr. Yazdi first introduced the pilot program, because it looked like we were finally going to do something to take advantage of the environment in which we found ourselves. All right? But so be it. All right?
Thank you, Mr. Graham. Yeah, very clear. Sorry, Councilwoman, you wanted...
I just wanted our attorney to comment on the multifamily, the inclusionary zone, what it has to do with this.
This doesn't change the underlying zone.
Right.
It's just a follow-through on the designations, and it's also an opportunity for it to be a redevelopment type of area with the benefits of a redevelopment area. So, but it doesn't change the underlying zoning, or does it change the approvals that are in place.
Right, so to net it all, if we do this, we're gonna get sued. And it's gonna cost us a bundle of money. And at the end of the day, he's gonna win, and we're gonna pass this thing anyway. So why are we doing this? Why do it? Why go through the Well, are we willing to bet on maybe? Don't say maybe. The attorney's telling us this is what's going to happen. It's going to happen.
First of all, Mr. Schiffman should be here too. He's recused. Why? At this point?
He's within 300 feet of the subject property, and I advised him, and I believe he's concurred, because he spoke as a member of the public about this issue, that he's in conflict with this. Within 200 feet.
I agree with that, because at this point, the property's being under construction right now.
Anytime there's action regarding property with which you're within 200 feet, it is very hard and fast rule that you will be in conflict if you're participating in any type of action.
All right, let's vote.
This is why we have professionals to advise us. Mr. Summer couldn't be any more clear about the process we went through, about where we are today, about how this ordinance to repeal is inadequate and will be challenged, and it doesn't give you a basis for that. Mr. Graff couldn't have been any more clear about the process of what brought us to where we are today, and how the repealing of this ordinance really just makes no sense at all. Doesn't change anything. Doesn't change zoning. Sadly to say, the only thing it does change or delay at an expense to our taxpayers is the vehicle to then do a pilot. Okay, you're not changing zoning. The only thing you're doing is removing the vehicle to then do a pilot. The new majority that will be here in January has made clear that that is the direction we will go. So doing this action today, or concluding it by the end of the year, is simply going to cost our taxpayers more money. And I believe all the statements given tonight really go against this being in any way in the best interest of Louis. I think the statements were quite clear from Mr. Graff and Mr. Semper. Any other comments? Yes.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for being here, and even though I disagree with almost everything that was said,
Why do we have professional?
and I'd like to finish without the
I'm sorry.
audience or you.
I'm sorry.
Is that okay? Can you do that for me?
Well, I will go after you then.
Go ahead. I'd like to thank you because I see that you come and you're passionate, and I appreciate your passion and in the beliefs that you have. And I totally want you to know that I am proud of you as citizens. But I was the one elected to sit here. I'm the one who sat. I'm not going to continue if there's one more word from the audience. Okay? Is that clear? I'm the one that was elected. I have to sit here. I'm the one that listened to 15 hours of testimony. I'm the one who listened to person after person get up. I am the one who questioned. I am the one who, for the people unlike you, who didn't support the pilot program, who don't want to be public, who gave me their reasons. So I've listened and listened. Not only did I listen, I did read the reports, and I did all the homework necessary. And if I make a vote that's unpopular, I'm going to have to be the one that has to live with it. But I'd like to back up to something the mayor said. We made the motion for this redevelopment, and he said with the absolute intent to vote for the pilot. That was
Mayor, are you using your cell phone right now, reading email?
No.
Did you just touch your cell phone?
I have no comment.
You said that we were not allowed to use our cell phones. Am I correct?
Should have passed
She's
the
interrupting
ordinance.
Mr. Short.
It's here.
You voted against it.
Sorry, Linda.
Okay. Where was I? With the absolute intent to vote for the pilot. That was never, ever my intent. My intent was to view this as a process and to get information. And maybe I was wrong in thinking that redevelopment would be an avenue to get information, not to rubber stamp everything that is said all along the way. I am not in favor of a pilot on a residential property. I think it will be a disaster for the rest of us taxpayers years down the road. When all those people living in those developments aren't paying for the schools in the county, and you and I will. And I want to be perfectly clear about that. I will always do what I think is right. It will have nothing to do with my party affiliation. And I'm sorry if you don't agree with that. I will say it over and over again, because I'm never going to do what people want me to do because they want me to do it. There were times along the way where I thought I did support the pilot. Now I am thoroughly convinced I don't. I viewed this motion as, this ordinance, as a way of closure to the pilot program. That's why my intent was to vote in favor of it. Closure. Finish it off, do it. And if the incoming council majority wants to bring it up again, They can. It would not be on my head. Be very clear. I do not support a pilot program on residential property. That doesn't mean we don't have areas in our town who could absolutely benefit from pilot programs. Mr. Graff had me up until he told us that they actually thought Avalon Bay would walk after the money, the investment, the machinery on that property. I'm sorry, I totally disagree with you. I think they see a pilot program as a windfall, and I think we're going to pay for it. But let me get back to this vote. Because I have total respect and total confidence in the attorney's opinion, I won't support the ordinance. And I don't care if they booed me again or they clapped. Doesn't affect my vote.
I just don't think there's any more need for discussion. No, is there any more comment before we roll call? Good. Thank you for your comments, Councilwoman. Any roll call?
Councilmembers Toots,
For my vote is yes.
Shortman,
No.
Yazdi,
No.
Conklin,
Stay.
D'Amato,
No.
So the ordinance fails 3-1. Okay, thank you. And I thank everyone for their input. Thank you, Councilwoman Shorman. Before we proceed, I just look forward to 2013 working with our good council and continue working with our system. Thank you, everyone.
You and I vote together, and I don't vote with you, and I'll blame you for party line.
That's right. Discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 minute recess. I'll say it again.
No.
5 minutes.
5:15. Make it a motion.
Did you have something to say, Council?
I'll make the motion to take the 5 minutes.
All right, before we take the 5-minute recess, we're already taking action because we have our fire chief here who does live young children at home, and I know he was anxious to get this.
I'm sorry, I'll wait until after.
Okay, so this is going to be the introduction of ordinance 24, 2012, amending chapter 2, 39 of our fire department. It's an introduction by title. It's just clarifying the various positions, correct? Mr. Attorney, you have an opinion on that?
Basically, a reconstitution of the various titles and positions.
So I have a motion to introduce by title, please. Milano, Schwarman, any discussion?
You're a big disappointment, Paul.
Roll call.
Councilmember Shortman, Yazdi,
Yes.
Conklin,
Yes.
D'Amato,
Yes.
Toots.
Yes.
That would be an ordinance amending chapter 2-39 fire department of the Borough of Bloomingdale.
And second final reading.
December 17,
12/18, 7:30. All right, we're good? Thank you. 5-minute recess.
I was...
Zoom at 9:24. Yeah, okay. Your reports from the governing body, does anyone have anything at this time?
Hi.
Yes.
I just wanted to say how good it was to be at the senior advisory meeting this week, and the senior advisory committee had nothing but incredible praise for our police department during this week, and they would like
They're researching, trying to work together to make sure that they have a list of every senior who's alone and might need support or help, and I think that's one of the things.
It's hard to hear. I have to say those speakers on.
You're good now.
Oh, okay. That, one of the, I think things that will come out of the storm are things that we can do better and things we can upgrade and update. And one of the things is making sure not only that you know who your neighbors are who are in need, but because our police chief did such a phenomenal job, he was heaped with praise at the meeting for being so caring and going and finding these people. But there may be others who are shy, don't want to be involved, don't want to come out. So they, I think, will be working to get a complete list of people who might be alone and needy, which is a good thing.
Great. And bring the reverse 911 to the senior community. if they're not signed
But
up.
yeah, well, they've done that.
Good. Yeah.
But you know, how does that work when you have no phone?
Well, that's cell phones. Yeah.
Many seniors don't have computers and they don't have cell phones.
But you did a great job. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, the only thing I got is the Night Round LEF event ran pretty smooth. We raised $250 at the door for the animal shelter, which was presented to them. He was very thankful, so thank you for that. A lot of parents were thankful because right after the storm, the kids had nothing to do, so it gave them some sense of normalcy for having that event. So a lot of people were thankful. So thank you again for approving that. And, raised a couple of boxes of food as well, non-perishable food that we donated to the Red Cross as well. So successful event. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question? Are you liaison to the animal shelter?
I was, yes.
You are?
Yes, I am.
Because, I don't know, I've always waited for a report from the, somebody said to me, who is the liaison and why don't we ever hear,
Yeah, the
updates
reason
on
why I
it?
said I was because it was Bass. Now it's
No, I meant this
changed
year.
and it's employees. So, yeah, to your point, we could ask for a report to be read.
Well, we do get the monthly report, but it's basically just, how many animals and things like that. But I don't know if if you contact Lisa and just get an update that you could just tell us.
Lisa's comment was that the shelter is running a lot smoother now. She actually gets to go home now, so
Oh, because
she
we
was
hired
thankful
more
because
people.
of the recent hires as well. So
And maybe we could have a financial update on the costs and how it's running.
she said something about we're running pretty in agreement, but I can bring that forward. Sure.
Thank you.
What is that?
What, in green?
Yeah.
Green is better than red. Let's
I
put it
thought it was
that
black.
Black and red.
Like Black Friday?
way. Black is bad.
Our former administrator gave a report last meeting. All right, thank you. Anyone else have anything? Just a couple quick things. I'm going to do mayor, engineer, and business and borough administrator. One quick report just to bring you up to date on a few things. The paving, there's still hope. We were postponed because of the hurricane. The paving of Jeffries, Knowles, Morse Lakes Road, and Raft. And we're hoping either by the end of the week, if we get the 50-degree weather, that we continue that. The county has begun to pave Union Ave, as you may have seen, from Main Street to Van Dam. Put in the curb drop so far, and they will pave that before the winter. We are tonight transferring the funds necessary to do the codification we talked about earlier when we honored Al Gunderson. That'll finally be codified before the end of the year. The Walter T. Bergen lights have been lit in a form of a test. I'm still trying to get one activity under the lights before the winter, so it's yet to be seen. There are some minor tinkering to be done. We had a few residents call about some bright lights in their windows and things, so there's some things to be looked at there, but the lights are finally lit. We're also going to, I will add tonight, I thought it was on the agenda, we have the issue of the DPW well monitoring we need to do to be DEP compliant, and it's a funding issue for us, so we're going to have to fund this next year. So I want to have discussion tonight, so it's in the minutes, so we can show the DEP action in the new year to buy us time. Regarding the storm, I met with our police chief and our fire chief with FEMA last week to begin our kickoff meeting on our FEMA application for the storm. We are close to about a $300,000 expense to the borough. Tonight we're doing emergency appropriation to fund most of that. And it was a very, very good meeting with FEMA. We were well ahead of the game because we've been through it before, where we presented most of our true costs related. And we need to give them a little more information. We're waiting for the actual case worker to be assigned in the next week or so. But the good news is, what they're offering this time around is reimbursement on straight time. Normally, they only reimburse you on overtime. And overtime and the debris removal and the use of our equipment. And they are willing to reimburse our straight time. So even though DPW may be working on a cleanup, or police officers, monitoring gasoline lines during straight time, we're going to be reimbursed that amount of money. So my goal is, at the end of the day, those are normal operating costs we would have incurred with or without a storm. Those are our normal straight time operation. If we're able to recoup, we can declare a 30-day window from the storm for that time, and we could declare a 13-day window, and if we can recover the straight time, we should be 100% whole, rather than the 75% reimbursement we're normally receiving from FEMA. Okay, because remember, the straight time is an expense anyway, so if we can recover most of that, it'll make our additional cost 100% reimbursement. Our goal is to get that done by the end of the year, so that we can anticipate the revenue in next year's budget to offset the emergency appropriation we're doing tonight. So we don't have to fund all of that next year's budget.
They give you a timeline?
The better we are, the quicker it is. I would imagine we would see money by April, May of 2013, which is enough time prior to adoption of the budget to anticipate it as a revenue. Our new CFO, who will be authorizing tonight, did state if you have from FEMA the promise of X, you can anticipate that as a revenue in our next year's budget. So these are things we're working on. But we started the process early. Al Gallagher and I went to the kickoff meeting down in the county OEM building, and then immediately I met with our area manager and had him here the following Tuesday, which was last week. And we're rolling on that. So we're way ahead of the curve on the FEMA reimbursement. Just to cover engineering things, Sloan Park, the flooding, the Gabion walls and all that, going out to bid in January. We'll award in February, start March 15, 2013. Flood on Sloan Park, including a new bridge and rebuilding the park, but not to active recreation, just to make our center of our downtown better than it is. The snagging first phase was complete, and we're looking to move some additional de-snagging on some Elizabeth issues we're having. As I stated, Walter T. Bergen Lights. Oakwood Lake, all the walkways are complete. There's additional quotes for benches and docks we're waiting on. That was a county grant. We're almost done there. Greenland Ave, paving is complete. We've got our core borings have been passed. Woodward Ave, the project again has been completed, and we just got the final sign-off for the NJDOT reimbursement. Henry Road is complete. We received our grant money back on that. Lakeside water line replacement, the work has begun. It's in the progress. The Old Ridge Road, we authorized emergency appropriation for that water line. That work should begin in the next 10 days. As you know, Walter T. Bergen restrooms, we've been funded $78,000 of our $100,000 request. I'm in conversation with the county to secure the additional $22,000. I'm confident, but still working on it. The water tank paint is completed. Tank painting is completed. I believe they were refilling the tank today. So we're in good shape there. And I mentioned the paving projects. We met with, I met with Burgess and our engineer regarding continue our Highland planning area performance, and we were awarded in excess of $50,000 for planning money in the Highlands. So Burgess is confident, and I'll talk with you, some other planners in the mix, that we can actually use some of this funding to take the next step on our redevelopment area, both on Union and Main, because we fall into the so remember, we were looking to have to budget $30,000 in our operating budget to do this planning. The Highlands will most likely fund this, and we should have that confirmed before the end of this year, so it's going to help us big time on our budget next year. So we're in great shape. So that's all I have at this time, and I thank you. Do you have anything, Mr. Chairman?
No, I think I said enough.
Jane, you got anything more?
Just for the public's information, we're once again collecting the toys for tots and there's a bin right upstairs.
Okay, wonderful.
I have also one more thing.
Yes.
We have had another meeting with our engineer and with Burgess, who's working on the focus study for the plan for the Riverwalk. And I have to say, the committee, and I'm just so impressed with what Burgess has done so far, and with our engineer working with them, and Ross Kushner has joined us, and we're making now plans to meet with the county to discuss it, and he has some materials and some presentation. And I think it'll be surprising, because when you say Riverwalk, I mean so many different things to different people. And I think what they've looked at is really quite a good vision study for the future. So that's it.
Thank you.
We didn't pick an area. They have maps that they walked the entire length from Butler Bridge. Ross brought up the fact that it would really be a great thing to try and connect on both ends as there's a Patriots Path that started small and now goes through many towns. And since there's a river walk right over the bridge in Butler, if there would be a way to sometime connect. He pointed out areas which are just beyond here that would be almost impossible. There's a great area right next door by the senior center behind the municipal building. There's a wonderful area behind some of the businesses down by is it Riverside Square? It's called? By that area. And I think one of the things that the committee has to work on besides the county is the meeting when we finally get everything, is to get the owners of the property on board and to work through what their expectations and whatever would be necessary from them. But I think if you picked an area, it would probably be right here.
I see you, sir.
From the up that there to down here past maybe the firehouse, I don't know exactly. We
In
haven't.
the early stages, so.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Department reports, no action to be taken, but you all have been copied on the health department and construction reports. Consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Do I have that motion, please?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any, well, I just want to comment. We have membership applications, so thank you to Jonathan Baker and David Winograd for fire department applications. We also received thank you letters from Lake Iosco, who's here this evening, and Claudia Matson from Starlink Road, thanking our staffs for their support during the storm. We also received a letter thanking our DPW staff, specifically Al Agrino, Craig Corder, Clint Romley, and Roy Figaro for their help in their recent renovation. So that was a nice letter there. So that is the consent agenda. And all in favor? Okay, just two.
Aye.
Pending business, we need to adopt resolution 2012-11.1, appointment of Tim Roberts as our CFO and qualified purchasing agent. Tim Roberts comes to us, I'm sorry, we'll have that motion from Mr. Yazdi. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Tim comes to us from Mountain Lakes, where he's their CFO and QVA. We have authorized enough funding to take him temporarily through February, so we'll revisit that in the new year. So that's what we're approving.
Will we have an opportunity to meet him?
Stop by Borough. He's here,
That's what I want to know when.
Sherry, I want to say he's here Wednesdays.
Wednesdays?
Wednesdays.
So I would say, no, between like 8 and 11, maybe 9 and 12, depends when he gets here. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so I need a roll call for that, please.
Councilmember Giassi.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Bertucci.
Yes.
Shortman.
Yes.
Again, item B, status of list of streets to reconsider. No action this evening. We need to keep that on pending. In the new year, we need to form a committee to sit with our tax office to define. I know Barbara was kind enough to send notice of which streets have least amount of residents on it, et cetera, et cetera. We really need to begin that process if we're going to do anything about it. So that'll stay, Jane, on our pending list, not on the agenda. I won't forget it. Discussion in regards to best practice. I mean, that's been on our agenda. We've approved it. Councilwoman Short.
I put it on.
Okay.
The reason I put it on is, I don't know if other people have gone through it and read it, but I think there are opportunities for us to improve our best practices report. And I think the overwhelming one is that elected officials attend a workshop. I wish I had, and as we got in our email, there are 2 in January, and I believe they probably are on a Saturday. But I think that I wish I had, and I think even though I've been here 2 years, I think I would like to go to one of the workshops in January, and I think, why not go for a best practice, another yes, by just doing that? It's
Absolutely.
a great thing to do.
Those are invitations sent to every governing body member. And I do know our 2 councilmen-elect, and Mr. Yazdi and John D'Amato they have requested from Terry, our deputy clerk, to attend the newly elected officers seminar as well as assistant councilmen. So they're going. So I know it was a funding issue, and the League of Municipalities is kind enough to allow us to book it for a PO in January. So talk to Terry if you want to attend that. You guys are going. And you're going to a second one for infrastructure. So it's for finding money to help our infrastructure. So they are out there and utilized when we can.
Yeah, I think we should review the list to see what other things we could improve on. I also was wondering about, it isn't the best practices, but Fred probably knows about it. It's the insurance. If we go to a workshop, we get $250 back. And that was canceled because of
It was, and actually, I was supposed to present that at the League of Municipalities, so I could, perhaps one evening before meeting, present that, and I think we could do it in less than an hour. And for every person that's an elected official that attends, you get $250.
Per person?
Yeah, per person.
Can we post that to other towns?
We could do that, or I could just come and do it one night.
We'd have to advertise.
Yeah.
So we should wait till the
Yeah, I'll get you a date for the new year week. Maybe we can try to get it, if you'd like it here, I think that would be fun. I can ask, and coordinate that. So, we could do it before meetings, that way we'll have everybody here, you get the next.
Sounds great. All right, thank you. The one pending item under pending business, I just want to on the record, I need a motion that the governing body will immediately in January proceed with the well monitoring as per DEP requirement. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Second, please. Discussion, we received an estimate in the middle of last year. That estimate still holds, I believe it's 17.5 for the well monitoring required. We need to find the funding to satisfy the DEP. So, all in favor on that? I'm sorry? Yeah, the well monitoring, which we have to do.
Can't find the paperwork.
Well, no, we found the paperwork, but it was never closed. It was never closed. That's all. Again, because it'll buy us time, the DEP wants action, so showing this action that will fund it early next year will give us the time we need. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And now we are on our second final reading and public hearing for the following ordinance. Ordinance 17, 2012, bond ordinance for replacement of water main on Lakeside Ave. Public notice statement, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this ordinance was posted in the municipal building, published in the Herald News, copies available to the public. Motion may be made that be read by title.
And do I have that motion?
So moved.
Second, to read by title, please.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Bond ordinance providing for the replacement of a water main on Lakeside Avenue in and by the Borough of Bloomingdale, the County of Passaic, New Jersey, appropriating $200,000 therefore and authorizing the issuance of $200,000 bonds or notes of borough financing the cost thereof.
Thank you. And have a motion open public hearing?
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor? Is there anyone wishing to speak to ordinance 17, 2012, financing of a replacement water main on Lakeside? Seeing no one, a motion to close public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Other than, just for the record, we had a massive break, and rather than continue with Band-Aids, the decision was made to do the full repair here. Roll call, please.
Conklin.
Yes.
D'Amato.
Yes.
Toots.
Yes.
Shortman.
Yes.
Yasi.
Yes.
Ordinance 18, 2012, establishing a new section 4.4 soil mulch delivery. Public notice statement, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this ordinance was published in the Herald News, copies available to the public, posted in the building. Is there a motion being made that it be read by title?
And who makes that motion, please?
So moved.
Going once, any second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion.
An ordinance of the Borough of Bloomingdale, County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 4 General Licensing of the revised general ordinance of the Borough of Bloomingdale, 2000, to establish a new section 4-4 soil/mulch delivery permits.
And is there a motion open in public?
So moved.
Any second? Second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak to ordinance 18, 2012, please do so. Seeing no one, I have a motion to close.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second. Discussion? Again, as everyone knows, we have a contract with RER that runs our landfill and produces mulch topsoil out of it, as well as provides us a great service by making us DEP compliant. And as a result of us, in their contract, getting a considerable amount of free topsoil and mulch, for our residents who can today go pick it up at the yard on their own, Councilman Yazdi's idea to implement this ordinance, what we will provide a one-time, correct? Per year, up to 2 times per year, at a cost of
$50.
$50 for mulch to be delivered to our residents only at home. That's what this is about. And do I have a roll call?
Councilmember Tomato?
Yes.
Toots?
Yes.
Shortman?
Yes.
Yasti?
Yes.
Conklin?
Yes. Thank you. Ordinance 19, 2012, clothing recycling bin ordinance. Public notice statement, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this ordinance was posted in the municipal building, published in the Herald News, copies available to the public. And the motion being amended and read by title.
Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
John, can I ask a question about this?
Well, let's get to the discussion part first.
An ordinance amending section 4-16 of the Code of the Borough of Bloomingdale to provide for the exemption of the borough's agencies from the permit application process and payment of fees in connection with the installation of clothing recycling bins on public property.
And I need a motion to open public.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wish to speak to 19, 2012, clothing bin ordinance? Seeing no one, motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
And I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Discussion.
I understand the purpose of the clothing bins.
Yeah.
Who monitors them? Who makes sure they're neatly kept? I pull out the end of my street, there's one sitting over here by the liquor store. You see clothes on the outside of it, you see, it just looks horrible.
Well, that will change. We had an ordinance in place. All right, we're amending it. Our ordinance in place only allows clothing bins on borough-owned property. So everyone you refer to is in violation of our ordinance.
Correct.
Okay. So to clean that up, to your point exactly, but not to hurt a funding source that funds our DARE program in our police department, we amended the ordinance that will allow bins to remain on private property if they benefit our police department. So now, it's the construction code official now, in Hagberg's office, who will now go and enforce the removal and or permitting of those that are now eligible to be permitted. Jane received, what started this, I was unaware of this ordinance, so Jane received a number of applications to be able to put these bins in place. And that's when Jane realized, I can't issue these applications, these people are in violation of our ordinance. So some will have to be removed. There is one, our police department, which is the one in the 7-Eleven complex, all in back, benefits $5,000 a year towards the DARE program. So we don't want to at the same time hurt ourselves. So to answer your question is, most will now be removed, and 2, it's Dan Hagberg's job. The cut construction.
Is there a process in place that they have to be put on a certain place of the property, that they shouldn't be out to the road, versus they should be behind the building versus?
Only if they were part of an original site plan application, which, that's what took so long to get this done. We had to research all our original site plans to make sure there was no pre-approvals in a site plan to allow a dumpster or a clothing bin. So we didn't contradict or violate our own pre-approvals. So to answer your question, there'll be none. The only ones that'll now be allowed are on our property. Unless someone comes forward, gets formal approval to place one on private property to benefit the police department. which we then will control that time of application on where, when, how, where, and all those rules.
It says such.
Such as, that's right. So it could benefit our municipal alliance drug program, benefiting the borough in some way. So, once this is adopted, which will be this evening, Jane will now have to deny a few requests, correct? And then, to send this ordinance to Dan's office stating enforcement to be done immediately. Okay? And I need roll call.
Councilmembers Patouche.
Yes.
Shortman.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Demoto.
Yes.
Check with the engineer, it's very familiar with the Highlands Act. We went over this. Formally, there's nothing that we see that's harmful. So there's an actual dissolution process that appears Kinnelon is leading the application to do it. So, I haven't come across anything that's going to give, you're giving up some type of right down the road.
The only way they could, I'm sorry to distract. This is an ordinance, 100 years ago, there was a Lakeland Regional Solid Waste Management Authority established between Kinnelon, Butler, Bloomingdale, Wanacue, all the up-county towns, to start a sewer treatment regional. And it never went anywhere, so they actually came to us, Kinnelon as the lead, said, we need to dissolve this because we all have money in there. I think our piece is $3,000 or something around there, sitting in this account since the 70s. And they want to dissolve it. Now, when this came to light, Fred said, well, wait a minute. You're in the Highlands. Why would you want to give up your ability to possibly have such a thing? Because if you let it go, you'll never be able to revisit this again in the Highlands. So again, but the thing is, it wasn't declared in our town. I don't think a site was ever specified.
But you still have some type of rights, nonetheless. I can't put my finger on exactly what was ever, allocated or any kind of allocation, but I can say one thing right now, the DB is not giving out any additional, service type areas.
This doesn't mean we were permitted to do so. This was just a formation of it.
No, but I did not verify what, if any, improvements they ever had in place. I don't know.
Okay, then I don't have a problem with tabling this. Let this die. We deal with it in the new year.
Even if you just go to the next meeting.
Well, it'll die. You have to reintroduce it again.
If you table it, at this point, there wouldn't be any additional cost.
No.
You just table it for one more meeting. I'll see if I can get.
Okay, that's what we'll do. All right, so my apologies, because I knew you had voted up last time. I need a motion to table 21-212.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. And any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
So we'll put that back on the 18th agenda. We'll go from there. Ordinance 22-2012, replacement of water main on Old Ridge Road. It seems to be water main break month in Bloomingdale. I need a public notice statement, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this ordinance was posted in the municipal building, published in the Herald, copies available to the public. So the motion being made that it be read by title.
And who makes that motion, please?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Bond ordinance providing for the replacement of the water main on Old Ridge Road in and by the Borough of Bloomingdale in the County of Passaic, New Jersey, appropriating $250,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $250,000 bonds or notes to the Borough for financing the cost thereof.
And I need a motion, thank you. Motion open to public.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Anyone wishing to speak to 22-2012? I need a motion to close.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to adopt.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. And I wasn't kidding about water main break month. We're authorizing $250,000 to replace the entire line and resurface the road on Old Ridge Road. We have 4 breaks in a 2-week period. And we just cannot continue to put Band-Aids on our failing infrastructure. We are,
Once we do that, do we somebody keep track of the mapping of this infrastructure?
that's such a great question. Because last year the council denied mapping.
Well, as we're fixing it.
That's
But
a little
as we're fixing
different.
them, as we're fixing them, of course, we're documenting.
Of course.
We have maps to a degree, but we need to do a full mapping on our system, know where our laterals are, know where our connections are, soup to nuts. Remember last year we had a proposal of $230,000?
That was a lot of money.
Of course, but that's been the philosophy of all governing bodies for the past 100 years in Bloomingdale. That's a lot of money, and no one's made the investment. Thus, we're dealing with these kind of repairs. We had, in the last week, on top of these two, we had a break on First Street, we had a break on Oak Street. No, Oak Street ended up not being a break. We had a break on Henyon, and a break on Main, really big break on Main. Totally, probably 20 grand, we're gonna get bills on those repairs. The good news, and the light at the end of the tunnel, is within the next few weeks, we will be receiving $1.2 million in sewer fees from Avalon Bay. And I stated on the record, this will be something we address in the new year, that the governing body commits that revenue, 100% of it, into our failing infrastructure. That's what we have to do. As a result of fixing our infrastructure, eliminating our I&I, we will reduce sewer and water rates. Yes, again, this is Rocco, our superintendent, to get off track, but
So you understand, Linda, a lot of these water main breaks, except for the one that was on Main and Ryerson, are 2-inch galvanized mains, very, very old, okay? We try to replace sections of it. It keeps breaking, keeps on breaking up the line.
Right.
Now, also, too, there's other roads. There's First Street. First Street is a 2-inch galvanized main. We've had 2 breaks there also. But this is, 2-inch galvanized mains are unheard of, okay? So now they're putting in 6 and 8. If I'm not mistaken, I think Paul says the required size now is an 8-inch main, okay? These are old, way before all of our
So I'm
times.
definitely in favor of using the money to upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, actually, we have no choice. You'll spend more on keep going up the line, and replacing piece by
Absolutely.
piece.
We should.
It needs to be
we
done.
need to make
What
the
do they
investment.
do for Avalon Bay?
Avalon Bay?
Avalon
That's
Bay.
all,
What kind of
that's
water?
iron.
We don't do any of the work.
Now, what did they put in though, do you
Sewer
know?
and water lines down Union to connect to the
I
road.
know, but what size, what did they use?
Oh,
That's all 8 and 6 inch.
And we'll get the fees as a result of that hookup and invest that, direct that. This is where we need to, my recommendation in the new year is going to be invested first into mapping, identify our system, to identify these 2-inch galvanized, identify the failed areas, the weak areas, and make the
And
investment.
what will be done, because I spoke to Paul Domofalski, each road that's done, I want a blueprint from him on the sections that we place, so I have them in our office, not just in the engineering office. As a matter of fact, Mark, he was on several of our water breaks. He knows what's out there. He saw with his own eyes of what we had to deal with out there.
Okay.
Am I correct?
So we're still in discussion on this motion? Any-
So Mayor, it's $250,000 because it's replacing the water line and repair.
We're resurfacing the road too.
So it includes.
Yeah.
So what, for what, Lakeside or
For over.
for Old Ridge? That's also the water services, the curb boxes, and fire hydrant.
Now, the sewer lines on these roads,
Not on Old Ridge.
they don't need,
Not on Old Ridge.
oh, they don't have it?
No, on Lakeside, yes. So the laterals will be changed also, the sewer laterals. I had the mains scoped. The mains are all right,
Okay.
okay? But the laterals, which is all Orangeburg, old Orangeburg pipe, which is a black tar paper pipe, they need to be replaced, and we put Schedule 40 PVC in there.
They do have sewers up there, all right?
Where's this?
No range. No sewers at
There's
all?
no sewer main down there.
Okay,
Do we
So-
want to bring it to them?
They're on septic?
That's what Paul had told me.
Well, this project hasn't begun yet.
It hasn't begun
That's
yet.
why I'm asking now, right? Well, the road's open, all the,
All
it's
right,
open.
we
We
save
can
the
look into
conversation.
that.
I'm sorry?
I said, no, I was answering right, we can look into
We could look at it, because we're just authorizing for the water and the road, so, but I agree with you, Ray. So that's what we take it once, do it once. You know, again, remember, and I'm all for it, but then you, by code, then you do that, everyone has to hook in. So if you have 10 homes and 8 brand-new septics, you gotta just take into consideration the impact on the homeowner. You know, if you have 8 homes with 6 failing septics, then obviously you do it.
Just that there are more homes on this to share the cost.
I agree, 100%.
They lower the rate on
Right.
people that are on it.
I know don't disagree.
I get that,
But if 4 of the 6 homes had just spent $30,000 in the last 2 years for a new septic,
understood.
you can't say, well, we'll let you go. It's code that they have to tie in with this amendment or something.
Yeah, and that's 7,200 to tie in.
$7,200?
Yeah.
And how much is it to replace your septic or fix your septic?
About
30,000.
Right, but
So,
don't forget,
how
no,
often?
sewer jobs are assessment projects. The borough doesn't pay for sewer jobs. So if we ran a sewer line down there, let's say it cost $400,000 or $300,000,
It's divided amongst the...
divided amongst those 6 homes, pay that bill over 20 years in the tax bill. All utility projects, sewer, and sidewalks, are truly assessment projects in the borough for all of our time. So to do a sewer project where there's only 4 homes, 5 homes, becomes real difficult to do because of the cost.
Do they pay for the whole project down the road, or do they pay for the hookup?
No, they pay for the whole project. Sewer
Whole
project.
project?
Remember when Hillside was done?
Yeah, no.
Just divided that amongst the 60, 70 homes, and everyone paid 20 grand for 20 years.
But that makes it even more of a reason why we should do it now, because we're spending $250 of the town money already, so it won't cost $200,000.
I don't know what it would cost, we can get the analysis, but the point is, even if it was 150,000, you're only talking 6 homes,
Yeah.
it's still gonna be a minimum of 30 grand assessment for a unit. It's tough to sell in these times. Now, again, if you have 8 failing septics, it's cheaper to let the borough finance your replaced line over 30 years at 2% versus having to go put a septic in on the home equity loan now to sell your house or to operate.
Could ask the homeowners.
First, we should get a cost analysis.
Yeah, that's
Did you do that tomorrow for me? Get a cost analysis roughly on sewer on that while we're doing that project. And then we'll visit, go to the homeowners.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay? All right, but we have a motion on the table, I need a roll call.
Councilmember Short.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Toots.
Yes.
Okay. Item 15A, adoption of resolution 2012-11.2. Approval of liquor license transfer application from H&T Inc.
This is by right liquors.
This is Byron Liquors, just looking to extend their store into the old Subway location. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Again, I wish them luck in expanding. And roll call.
Councilmembers Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Toots.
Yes.
Short.
Yes.
Item B is adoption of emergency resolutions. They're entitled here, repairing a garbage truck, sewer pump station repair, water main for Main Street, water main for First Street, water main for Lakeside, water main Old Ridge Road, and emergency on the hurricane. These are resolutions to appropriate funding in emergency on Henyon Street, the recent break. I'd like to move these in all one lump sum. A lot of the work's been done, they're all emergencies. I'm sorry?
Repeat the resolution.
2012-11-3 through 11-10. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Any roll call?
Councilmembers Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Toots.
Yes.
Short.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
No.
I'm sorry?
This is another separate one. Funding.
Just want to find
This is
that.
240.
Okay. So again, the item B was declaring each of these an emergency. Now we need to adopt resolution 2012-11.11 as an emergency appropriation for Hurricane Sandy in the amount of $240,000. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Second. Any
I have
discussion?
a question.
Yes.
On the second page, it says date of happening.
Got the wrong year.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Really noted, we'll amend that 2012. Probably no resolution, just copy and paste from there. Thank you. Any further discussion? I need a roll.
Councilmembers Tomato.
Yes.
Toots.
Yes.
Short.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes. Item D, adoption resolution 2012-11.12. Transfer resolution. You're all been copied on transfer. Bear with me. And you can see we're totaling between mostly police departments operating expense, a total amount of $32,455, transferring to various lines, legal, planning board, webmaster, electric, phone, gasoline, social security. So you're clear to see where the money's coming from and going to. Okay? And anything?
So moved.
We have a second.
Second?
And discussion. Any roll call?
Councilmembers Patouche.
Yes.
Shortly.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Okay, item E, I'm going to table at this time at the request of Councilwoman Shortman. She wants to have a discussion in executive session on a contractual issue on one of the bills being paid this evening. So, any motion to, before we do that or no? Okay, so that item we will revisit after executive session. Action will be taken, I am sure, after executive session. Item F, introduction of, thank goodness that's over. Item G, adoption of resolution 2012 11.13, amending chapter 159 for our recycling tonnage grant. This is just amending the current operating budget due to the receipt of our recycling tonnage grant in the amount of, is what I'm trying to find. Amending it, we got additional money. We did this last month. It's an additional $1,478.61. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Shortman.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Patouche. Yes.
Okay, item H we dealt with under pending business. Item I, adoption of resolution 2012-11.14, amending chapter 159 for a body armor grant. This is again amending current operating budget for a grant received for our police department. In the amount of $1,901 they received, offsetting our appropriation for body armor grant received by our police department. Do I have that motion to amend?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any further discussion? Roll.
Councilmember Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Patouche. Yes. Shortman.
Yes.
Item J, we received an accepted, I did a letter of resignation from our borough administrator. We got accepted, and what I'll, for the record, is put it on, need a motion to accept formally from the entire governing body Mr. Ehrenberg's resignation.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And then just discussion, again, the staff had a little, just a little gathering to say goodbye, and, Ted was here for 6 years and developed a lot of friendships, and those friendships I'm sure will hold, and all we can do is wish him well in his new venture, and serve the borough well at this time here. Any further discussion? I need a roll call.
Councilmember Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin. Tomato.
Yes.
Patouche. Yes. Shortman.
Yes.
Okay, adoption resolution 2012-11.15, approval of renewal of inactive liquor license for Wahab Enterprises. Again, it's just inactive, we're renewing to make it live again. With intent to sell, or we don't know?
No, it's just to act, it's not active. It's
Just to activate, so they don't lose it. Okay. Do I have that motion?
So moved. So moved.
Tomato, Yasti, and any further discussion? This was the old Abby's Pizza. Roll call.
Councilmembers Conklin.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Patouche. Yes. Shortman.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, item M, so we already did 11. Sorry?
Resolution 60.
Right, we're going to adopt resolution for our tax office, 16 through 22, various tax lien certificates, overpayment on one, and a tax refund block 53, lot 126. Do I have that motion, please?
So moved.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmembers Tomato.
Yes.
Patouche. Yes. Shortman.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes. Item N, authorization to establish an inauguration date for our councilman-elect is January 1st, New Year's Day, 2013 at 1 p.m. And our reorganization meeting on Tuesday, January 8th, 2013 at 7 p.m. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mayor, technically, the statute says you have to reorganize by the 7th day, but Could we not call the January 1st day the reorganization meeting, then just a regular
Well,
meeting?
January 1st is inauguration, swearing in.
Right, but if you also have the reorganization, there's only a number of resolutions you would just have to pass, like.
We do that on the 8th. All we do on the 1st is swear them in.
It's too late, that's the problem.
I'm sorry.
By statute, yeah, so if you just get those housekeeping items out of the way, you can meet on the 8th, just call it either a regular meeting.
Okay, whatever housekeeping has to be done, because there is one other item on the 1st I want to deal with, so.
So it would be like a reorganization
Okay.
meeting, we'll take care of,
All right.
it's things like depositories and.
Correct,
and
I
things
got
like
it.
that.
All right, so I'll amend the motion I'm looking for. So authorization to establish our reorganization date is January 1st, 2013 at 1 p.m. And then our first, I don't want to call it a regular, it'll be a work set, no, it'll be a regular meeting, first regular business meeting, January 8th. That's when we'll do all our appointments.
Would that make the second meeting a work session?
Well, again, this is that's two.
When you have to pay.
It doesn't matter, call it our work session.
As long as you take care of the reorganization by those first 7 days, you can then act, you don't need to wait, you deem it.
So again, it's going to be reorg on the 1st and our first work session on the 8th. But we will be taking action at the work session. Are there certain appointments that need to be made on that 1st?
No, it's more just various housekeeping type items. that need to be
I mean, anyone-
What else would be a holdover? Yeah.
What about boards and commissions? I mean, if we do it on the 8th, unless
No, same,
we hold.
same thing, I mean, unless the board is going to, meet between the 1st and the 8th, which you weren't going to do anyway. so.
It's fine. Okay, so do I have that motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then authorization from the governing body to request various professional proposals for our 2013 professional services.
So moved.
Thank you. No second? Second. All in favor?
Is that, what is that, engineer, legal, what other?
All professional services. I think Paul's still in a couple-year contract. What? He's up? Yeah, we can look at engineering. Although, I mean, to be honest with you, we'll be shopping. Paul's too much in the
Well, no, I
midst of a
just was
million
wondering,
things
you
that I
have
don't
to
want to
send
change.
that, I just wanted to know what titles were.
What I'd like to see a proposal for is our insurance broker, our auditor, and those were the other two. Border. You can't, that's good. You notice the levity now? All right, so we'll define it to insurance risk manager and audit. Do I have that motion? I have that motion. I'll amend it. You amend your motion there?
Sure.
We seconded it? Mono? You amend that? Second.
How do you go about seeking those?
There's a few ways. We can post it on various leading municipalities, sites to get the word out there. We can, I know you like the LinkedIn method we can look at.
I'd like to explore other things other than, we haven't had any success with the person in the financial office. I was just
Well,
wondering
because
if
you only
there were
offer
other
$8 an hour,
avenues.
that's why they listen to that. What were you saying?
We offer $12.50 an hour.
Yeah.
We're not going to find too many
Wasn't
people.
that no?
We'll deal with that another day. Any other avenues you suggest for advertising?
No,
Fred? No, Fred.
The lead, but then, you pay, and then you also get innovative, and the same through, it's really kind of fun, so.
We'll put out.
You put it on your website, a lot of times.
This time of year, everyone's looking. Oh, we always put our reviews up.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor? Thank you. There's no introduction of non-agenda items. Therefore, no public comment on non-agenda. I need a motion to open to late public comment.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Anyone wishing to speak to anything your little heart desires? Except you. Okay. Come on, now. it's easy.
I'll make Mike say
Nobody else wants to talk.
Rich Feller up at Pine Tree Road. And I talked to Mike briefly. We heard a couple of comments today about how we were going to be voting, basically. And I just wanted to reassure everyone, especially since you kind of alluded to it, Mr. that we are here for Bloomingdale and we're not going to be playing partisan politics or anything like that. that's the way I'm going to vote for it, I believe I speak for Mike as well. So, I just wanted to say, obviously, for certain things, I think we've made our general opinion clear, but, we're going to work for Bloomingdale and not for any particular party or persons.
That's the only way it should be. Thank you. I'm ready to write that down.
Does that mean I have to
I want to
represent?
congratulate you on winning and good luck.
Oh, thank you
Both
very
of
much.
you, both of you, so I wish you the best.
Oh, there was, no, I remember what the board.
Thank you, Joanne.
If I can wear the board ahead. I want to make sure that the movement of the playground, Sloan Park, hasn't been forgotten.
No, it hasn't been
I know it's not a high
forgotten.
priority item, I just want to make sure it isn't.
It's encumbered, it's on the list. We, regarding the 40 grand we had to spend down, it was 7,000 of that.
Right.
It's just a matter of the contractor
Okay.
getting it done. Yeah, thank you, though. Tom, my pen. What? Okay, anyone else? Seeing no one, motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. We will be going to late executive session with one contract matter and now two contract matters to be tabled to bills list and one contract negotiation matter. We will be taking action on the pending bills list after executive session. We will meet again, our last meeting of the year, December 18th, 7 p.m. I don't see, excuse me? Yeah, two new council members are permitted to enter into executive session, cannot take action or participate, but can begin to learn the ropes in a sense. Do I have a motion to enter into executive session?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you to the public who's we're back in the public at 10:57. There's one matter to deal with, and that is a motion to pay the bills. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Sorry.
Council members Short,
Yes.
Yasti,
Yes.
Yes.
Tomato,
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, and now I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Look at that, it's not even 11 o'clock.